Hello and welcome to another Coach-Pupil League, or CPL cast. This is NiteKat. I will be your host for today. We are continuing to look at the Week 1 preseason games as Week 2 is underway. Today we're going to be looking at Group 13 and Group 18. So, like a little lower than middle of the road in terms of the group numbers, I think. We're going to have some games from ColdTehran, which I think is supposed to be like similar to like ColdTehran, kind of, but with an H instead of a first R there. Champion 40, we've got Merlin from the MG team, and Coach-Pupil, consisting of Group 13, and then in Group 18, we just had games from Justice, Auto Remmer, and Whiskey Dingo. So the way that the preseason works, if you're not familiar with it, is all the players get put into groups of about 5 players, and everybody plays one game against everybody else in the group, kind of like a round robin type, like a one round game round robin type scenario. And those are just used to determine what tiers the players will be placed in, as the way that Coach-Pupil League works is players are put into teams, and then those teams are further subdivided into tiers based on the skill level of the players. And so each team puts forward a certain number of players from each tier, and you play players from the same tier if you're put forward from the other team for that week. So a lot of games are usually pretty close in skill and pretty exciting to watch, even at the lower levels. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So let's get our first game loaded up here. First game, which will be a Terran versus Protoss here. We're going to have ColdTehran up against Champion. Gotta love that iconic countdown there at the start of a game. We have Champion spawning as the red Protoss up at the top right of Polypoid. And over on the top left, we have ColdTehran spawning as the blue Terran, and I do want to thank the players for playing their game in top versus bottom. As a quick reminder, it is really helpful when games are played in top versus bottom, because if any of the color choices are a little bit difficult to either tell the difference between the two players, or like difficult to see against the terrain for any reason, as a caster we can just shift tab to get that nice red versus blue color going on. Very excited too to have Season 9 underway. I know it's getting to be a little bit of a meme to just keep asking CPL Season 9 when. No, looks like, are we going to get... Oh, no. Okay, maybe just a confirmation of where the ramp is, because on ladder, there's both Vermeer and Polypoid, which are jungle tile set maps, and so if you're playing ladder and you don't exactly pay attention to the map that you're loading in on, it can be easy to kind of mix them up, and they have their ramps going differently. So like, for me personally, I remember it as Polypoid is clockwise ramps. So like if you're in top left, the ramp is over to the right. If you're in top right, then it's like down below, as if it were going in a clockwise motion around the map, right? Whereas Vermeer is counterclockwise. So if this were Vermeer and we're at the top left, we're going to be looking at a ramp down below, and then the top right ramp would be to the left. So maybe just checking to make sure, hey, this is Polypoid. When that SCV was first going out, I thought maybe we were going to get a wall off at the top of the ramp, which used to be an older style that was very popular, to wall the top of your ramp and then siege expand in Terran vs. Protoss, but really has fallen out of favor, more for dealing with early zealot pressure just with your SimCity and some Marine Micro. Looks like ColdTehran's going to get the first scout off here, whereas Champion going to get the last scout. Both players scouting in that clockwise direction. And I believe that SCV saw the first zealot pop out, but the question is, did the player actually see it? Very easy for a unit to see something happen, right? But the player's screen was looking elsewhere, and so you just kind of end up missing it. As the Zealot marches across the map here. There really isn't a SimCity to exactly deal with this. I'm not sure. I believe this is the depot touching the top of the racks. That might be Zealot type, but it looks like the Zealot is going to come in here, get a hit off on the Marine. Good reaction time, though, only allowing a single hit to get off there. Okay, yeah, and that does look to be tight, and I think actually that racks on top of factory is tight as well. So this is looking like a pretty decent SimCity here to handle this Zealot and Probe. Another hit off on one of the Marines. Both of the damaged Marines are at 2 hits away from death by the Zealot. Ooh, very lucky that Zealot did not get an attack off, but pretty healthy Marines. Continuing to produce Marines, though. And Champion may have seen that Rax was still blinking when that 4th Marine came out, so this might be early pressure, though an expansion is going down. The machine shop just getting started for ColdTehran, so we'll see what they choose to do with it. If you're not going to be doing any kind of early pressure, you are kind of hamstringing yourself by getting those early, or getting too many Marines. Typically 3 should be enough, and actually, okay, yeah, so there's just the 5 Marines. Maybe gonna plan to do some scouting with an additional Marine, but only 4 can fit in a bunker, and typically 3 is enough to dissuade Protoss from really trying to do anything too crazy with their Dragoons. As 3 Marines, oh wait, there's nothing in the bunker just yet, but Champion doesn't get close enough to see that, but even if he did, those Marines could easily just load into the bunker without too much issue. One problem with this SimCity, though, the barracks is out kind of far, so even with, like, I mean, you're not going to get Marine range, but even if you did get the Marine range upgrade, you weren't going to be able to get the goons off of that bunker, or sorry, the barracks. So ColdTehran is stalking the scout SCV away down in that bottom right corner. We'll see if it gets remembered later in the game and used for maybe trying to get some additional information or additional scouting, like on a timing for a 3rd or anything like that. Looks like we are seeing a siege expand here as siege mode, or well, the newer style of siege expand, where it's more of like a bunker expand, but the first, oh wait, no, mines was researched. Never mind, I missed that mines were obtained, but yeah. Without pushing these, and we see that range completes here, can be a little tricky sometimes to get those Dragoons positioned, but I guess with 4 Marines in that bunker, that is going to be a little bit more damage. And I kind of like that. Well, okay, Champion is repositioning that. I was going to say, yeah, because that tank is on the high ground there, it's a little dangerous to try and move to the left and get that additional damage on that bunker. Going to try and push away here. Has to be careful, though, because 4 goons can very quickly target down a tank. I would very highly advise against that, though, with the bunker loaded with 4 Marines. And, what's this? Okay. Yeah, barracks is moving over the high ground here. I was going to say, if that barracks was going to try and park, like, yeah, so there it's not visible by Champion, whoops, where it was. And you can kind of just use it as a spotter. And I'm sure siege mode is done now. Not sieging the tank in advance of anything, but it is in position to be able to siege and nicely help defend. Champion going ahead and taking the mineral only as their 3rd. Looks like we've got 3 gate obs going on in the main here. Observer is on the way. It is a little bit risky for Protoss to be playing with the Dragoons so far forward. I mean, they know that there aren't any vultures that have got out on the map, but if there were like a starport with a dropship, with nothing back home to defend, they're left very wide open to like that sort of dropship play. But that is not what's coming, so it's not going to hurt Champion in this game. But it is a little bit risky there. 3rd almost online for Champion here. Looks like ColdTehran's trying to push out of their choke a little bit here, but there's a lot of Dragoons and not a lot of army. We can see the supply is very low for ColdTehran. So Champion probably could just move forward and take those tanks out if they really wanted to. ColdTehran going up to 3 factories here. Looks like they were playing it a bit safe, which is probably the thing to do because they really didn't get a lot of scouting off. It could have been ETs, but we see the Observer here now going into the Terran base. It's like gonna jump up to 5 factories here. And that Observer is going to get that juicy intel there for our Protoss player. Looks like ColdTehran's gonna try and leapfrog a bit, but there's so much Protoss here. And it looks like Champion is going to smell some blood in the water here and charge forward. Tank is going to come out and will be able to pop up on the high ground. The bunker is going to fall here, and there's plenty of room for the Dragoons to sort of move out of that tank's range. They could even actually just run up the ramp, which it looks like they might be doing now. Yeah, there we go. There's at least one goon there. And yeah, this is not a fun time when you're the Terran player on the receiving end of this. I think maybe the biggest issue here was, or maybe not the biggest issue, but one of the issues was just trying to push out with not enough units to actually contest the Protoss army. But also good job by Champion of recognizing that they were able to capitalize on that and push in, because that can be something that can be tricky to determine as well. And then ColdTehran will go ahead and give the GG, and Champion will take the win in the first game we're casting from this group. Our second game for today is going to be another Champion game. This time we have Champion going up against 40. It'll be a Protoss versus Zerg. Let's go ahead and get that game started. We have Champion spawning as the red Protoss up at the top right of the map, and down in the bottom left we have Ford spawning as the blue Zerg. Protoss versus Zerg. Now, I'm a Terran player, so some aspects of the matchup tend to elude me. However, it is one of my favorite matchups to watch. It can be very, very exciting, and it can produce some, like, I've seen some Protoss vs. Zergs that have gone all the way to the map being, like, down to the last base. The players are long distance mining from the same base. Like, it can get pretty crazy sometimes, so definitely a treat to watch. Champion is choosing to throw down an in-base pylon here and not doing what I think is a bit more meta, which is the like sort of wall with the Protoss buildings at your natural choke. But maybe this is going to be a 2-gate, which is an opening you can do in PvZ, but it does make expanding to your natural a little bit more risky, as you won't really have that defensive wall with a cannon or cannons established. It looks like Ford's going to go for a pull first opening, so if this is indeed a 2-gate, as we see the first gateway come down, and it's cross spawn, I don't know that Champion is going to get the damage that they're looking for with this opening. We are seeing Champion again scout in this clockwise direction here, so they will stumble across the opponent's base here on the second scout, and we do see that the second gateway goes down into the main. We have oh, it looks like Ford actually trying to set up here. Doesn't use hold position on the drones, but does set up a wall there to sort of keep that probe out. Ford has enough minerals to expand, so maybe looking to chase that probe away to get that expansion set up. Yeah, but there the hatchery goes down, and then the Zerglings are started here. So Just based on that, I think based on the hatchery timing, Champion should be able to tell that it is hatchery first. But there's no signs of Zerglings, or sorry, not hatchery first, I misspoke, I meant pool first. But there are no signs of Zerglings yet, so I don't know if that would necessarily tip off that there's something different happening here. The Zerglings are out, and unfortunately the probe is out of position to see the Zerglings, but does see two of the Zerglings there. Gonna catch the probe. We'll see if this Zealot chooses to just engage with the Zerg player, or is the Zealot gonna return home? Looks like the Zealot's gonna continue to march forward. Gonna get nibbled on a little bit by those Zerglings. We're then going to run home. There's a couple of Zerglings out here by the choke. Going to see these two Zealots come out. And that should make it pretty clear that this is a 2-gate from Champion. Gas not taken just yet for Ford. And no third hatchery yet with minerals building up. Okay, it looks like, I think... Okay, some money has been spent now. It looks like we do have a third hatchery on the way somewhere. Oh, all the way up here at the top left. Sneaky for trying to sneak a third base all the way up there. And you can definitely do, like, double expand sort of openings in ZVP. Going to be a little bit harder to defend against a 2-gate. But if Champion is not, like, so the scouting probe got picked off by the Zerglings, and Champion is not scouting around looking for another base. There are two Sunkens here as the Zealot kind of strays, unfortunately, and gets chewed up by those Sunken colonies. So I'm not sure if Champion's really going to be able to dish out too much more damage, but they are getting set up to expand behind this. They go ahead and throw down a forge and a cannon. I'm not sure about that, but either way, it is safe to take this expansion. Checking, okay, so Champion did check for a third, but checked for it nearby and did not check for it far away in that top left. And is actually checking the bottom right, I think. Oh, no, checking the bottom mid, okay. Logical places to check. Unfortunately, that's not where Ford went. And so this top left base will continue to go unchecked. Oh, now, okay, is checking bottom right. Just checking everywhere except where Ford has expanded. We'll keep an eye and see if that gets detected or not. More Zealots under warping here from Champion. Got the gas. We have a forge. So I guess that gas could go into +1. There's the cybernetics core. Okay, I was looking for the cybernetics core to be warping in here. And the Zealots are actually going to check that top left, so they're gonna find it. There's maybe gonna be a morphing and or just finished sunken. So checking this mid-left again, just make sure he's like, there's gotta be a base somewhere. And here he is going to find it. The creep comes into view. There is the morphing sunken colony. The Zergling's gonna try and be annoying and just sort of run around. But that sunken really needs to be targeted. So it's just going to get damage off and go ahead and running away. But that is leaving the natural wide open. So these Zerglings could run, but there is a nice wall here of Zealots with the cannon backing them up for support. But the longer Champion waits, the more time Zerg has to set up these defenses. So these Zealots need to charge in now, and they need to take down some of these buildings. But also need to target some of the Zerglings. There is one Zealot at least hitting at the Zerglings. A drill attempt there by the Zerg player. But yeah, these two additional Sunkens are going to finish and going to go ahead and replace the third. So the attack is repelled. There's 5 more Zealots on the way. Plus 1 upgrade being researched by the Protoss player here. Gateway coming down. We do have a Citadel, so it doesn't look like we are going for Corsairs. Without any Zerglings, though, this might actually be enough if he moves in before... Oh, there's a Spore Colony. Interesting choice. I mean, there is the Overlord here, but I guess if you are not sure if... Oh, yeah, because the lair is just on the way. I mean, you do have the Hydralisk then. But if you don't want to produce Hydralisks just yet, then yeah, Spores are probably going to be your better bet to protect your Overlords just in case Corsairs come out. The champion has these Zealots here, and they're just sitting and waiting, like... now there's an Evo chamber in the way. Like, that wasn't there. If those Zealots had just charged in instead of sitting there at the ramp, this top left base could have been wiped out, I think. Oh, we do have the Stargate now. Okay. And we have the first Corsair coming out. So Corsairs will be the order of the day. And we have a second Stargate. So we're going to go pretty heavy on those Corsairs. But there is no Spire for our Zerglair. And actually, Champion decides to back out and not attack. Oops, double Stargate from Champion. Announcing to his opponent, hey, by the way, I made 2 of these. But I didn't mean to. Trying to play some mind games there. The first Corsair is now out on the map. Champion does have a healthy count of Zealots, especially since he did not send the group of pack of Zealots that were up here in. They are still alive with no additional damage. Dragoon is out, taking out this Overlord. Dragoon's going to go ahead and be given a move order, which is going to allow that Overlord to get into a safer position. But with there's no more Corsair production, so it was just the one Corsair being made. 2 Stargates for just one Corsair. I'm going to try and move into this natural here. Natural is pretty well defended, though. I feel like the Corsair was sitting here, though, and saw that this base wasn't taken, so I'm not sure why the army is checking, but the army is just going to go ahead and move to this 6 o'clock base here and just confirm that, yes, there is nothing there. Corsair taking out the Overlord. The Corsair did not dive in to do any scouting, so I don't know if he's seen the Hydralisks, or if he is still a little bit tech blind. Or blind into the tech choice of Ford here. Throwing down another hatchery and another sunken. Champion checking for bases with the entire... Actually, wait, there are 2 Corsairs now. I was worried that there was just going to be the one Corsair with the 2 Stargates. So Champion just trying to make sure that there are no additional bases that he is not aware of. Zerglings coming out here, going to engage with these Zealots, but now we have the rest of the Protoss army coming up. Should be enough to deal with these Hydras. Ooh, trapping some of them so that they can't quite run to the help of the full Sunkens, but one was able to get some shots off. But now the Hydra count starting to get a little bit worrying here. The army going to go ahead and back off. And it looks like they may do a full retreat, but we've got High Templar coming out now. Plenty of energy. Assuming Storm was researched. Protoss is not looking in a bad position. The one chasing Hydralisk pays for its hubris. It cannot take on a Protoss army alone. 2 Corsairs are still alive, so that's good to see. We're getting a robotics facility, so we'll be able to... Uh-oh. Okay, so we've got Champion moving into position to attack this top left base here again. They are diving in before too many more additional defenses can be set up, so that is good to see, being decisive here. I think there is enough to clear this, but does need to be careful of the backstab, which we can see moving across the mini-map. Or no, actually, it's not a backstab. It is moving up just to defend. Decent Storm, but does a lot of damage to their own Zealots. And now there is nothing to defend here. Only one drone makes it out of there alive. with the Zerg army coming in here. Oh, there's still a sunken. Okay. The Zerg army is making its way up the ramp, though, so might be able to just barely save the base. Second hatchery goes down. And now the armies will engage. A beautiful storm there from Protoss, dealing a lot of damage to those Hydralisks. A lot of damage also falling on the Zealots. I think there is enough here from Champion to clean this top left base up. And the army's just going to sit there. Looks like there was a small attempt at a counterattack, but it was just 5 Hydralisks, so plenty of Zealots to clean this up. Champion allowing this... Okay, now moving the army over to handle this, the rest of this top left and clean that up. So Zerg getting smacked down back to 2 bases. Gotta make it a little bit rough. Looks like Zerg doing well on the upgrades at 2-1. His Champion's upgrades here at 2-0. So Champion also doing good on upgrades, but now we have the Lurker tech out. This top left base gets cleaned up. Oh no, these Templar, these high energy Templar just get picked off for nothing there. So that is a bit unfortunate to see, but gateway count is going up. Unit production is continuing. Gas is a little bit starved as the third base was a mineral only, but we do have the fourth coming up online for Champion, which will give him 3 gas bases to mine, from which to mine. Zerg has a pretty formidable army at the moment. There are a lot of Zealots that are kind of trapped up here, though. And until observers are out, there's really not going to be a way to get them home safely. It's interesting, the robotics facility was built, and I'm just kind of looking at the Protoss base, and I'm not seeing an observatory anywhere. So that might potentially be an issue for Champion here. Trying to keep the Lurkers from getting too close to the Zealot army here. But yeah, those Zealots are pretty trapped right now until an observer can come out, which, okay, the observatory is on the way and almost done. But while all this is happening, I'm gonna be able to get that burrow off. Needs to sort of pull. Just move commanding through the Hydras, and oh, there's all these Hydras on the low ground, though. I was gonna say, honestly, that was probably the best move to try and get those Zealots out of there, but yeah, there were just too many Hydralisks with the 2 Lurkers that were by the ramp, and so unfortunately those Zealots get wiped out. Ford needs... Oh, I think that drone might have been trying to get up there to help reestablish that base, but Ford needs to get a third somewhere desperately, or 4-base Protoss, in theory, should be able to overwhelm the 2-base Zerg. Something else I find fun about the PvZ matchup, too, is, like, you can get games where Protoss is containing the Zerg, and you can get games where the Zerg is containing the Protoss. Like, it can go either way, which is pretty fun to see. You do have a decent Corsair fleet here built up. We've got 6 Corsairs. Observer is out now. There's a strong Hydra Lurker army here, but there is no drone or any structures up there at the moment. So Ford continuing to press on with these 2 bases is all the way up to Hive Tech and has Consume almost done. So we could be seeing some Plagues and or Dark Swarms very soon. We have the drone here finally coming to this top left to try and reestablish it. Now Champion is taking the bottom right themselves. Looks like Ford looking to deny the 12 o'clock base. This is going to get spotted by these Corsairs. So Champion is aware that that army is there. Looks like he was maybe thinking of taking that 12 o'clock with the probe and was checking first if anything was there with the Corsair. Sees it's there and goes ahead and backs the probe up a little bit. See where the army is going to move for our Protoss player here. So Consume is done. I don't think Plague is done yet. Good Storm on the stationary army gun. Oh, but the Templar does get picked off. I'm not sure if it had another Storm in it or not. Looks like Champion's going to try and charge in here. Actually, Swarm kind of hurting. I don't know why Champion is retreating, because the Swarm was helping. He could have planted his units under it. The Hydralisks aren't going to be able to do anything to them under it. Bottom right does get denied, and it looks like there's drones, so maybe Ford looking to take bottom right for themselves as well. It looks like instead of taking top left, they're taking the natural of top left, which will allow them to defend the choke a little easier, and then take that top left. So there's a probe. See, the probe is just like, yeah, you can't get me under here. All the Dragoons could have parked under there and just started dishing out some damage, but if there's no need to really press the issue, the bottom right does get denied. Though the natural here starting to get put up. Another drone coming along to build that hatchery on that top left main. Again, we have the Chasing Hydra meeting an unfortunate end there. Drones tripping on themselves a little bit there. Another pylon, supply block at 180 there, so another pylon being thrown down by Champion. And we're getting this bottom right base attempt at establishing it once again. Probe transfer from the mined out main. It's one thing, as a Zerg player, your bases tend to mine out a little bit slower. But it looks like there's a little bit of an imbalance on the drones there, with not as many in the main. That's one thing that can be tricky as a Zerg player, is that like when you start throwing down your tech buildings, you need to replace the drones, since the tech buildings eat up a drone. There's an observer that sees this drone transfer, so now Champion, if he was not aware, is aware that this top left is being taken, but Ford is basically expanding to every map on, or every base on this left side of the map here. But this is a pretty formidable Protoss army. 3-1 upgrades up against 3-1 upgrades. There are lurkers, but there is an observer now. Needs to be careful about storming their own zealots. Observer not quite going forward to see all of the lurkers that are here. I think Zerg might just have enough maybe to push this back, but if Protoss brings all of its army, there won't be enough. Looks like there's an attempt to block the ramp there, and it is successful with the placement of that egg. Storming the egg, you need a second storm to kill it, and there it is. The egg falls. You could see another egg plant itself on the ramp, but the High Templar are going to go up while everything else is busy attacking. And the High Templar with storms to cast get picked off, but there's such a large army here, though, that they're going to be able to get up onto that ramp and take that out. Looks like the 12 o'clock, all except for a lurker, is being pulled back to try and push this out, but Ford getting low on minerals here. There's not a lot of drones in this main, which is almost mined out. The only real mining base is this 9 o'clock base for Ford. So Ford looking in a lot of trouble here. Champion has a lot of money banked and has some mining bases. So looking in a very good position here. Making sure that no drone hatches up here and just reestablishes that top left. Ford is transferring all of the drones from the natural into this 9 o'clock base, getting the gas set back up. Really needs to get some income, but man, Protoss supply compared to the Zerg supply is just incredibly huge right now. Like, that is a really huge difference. In some ways, it feels like the Protoss army is not that large, but that's, I think, partly because it's just kind of spread out a little bit. The Observer does see that there is this 9 o'clock base, and it looks like that is what Champion is going to hit, recognizing I don't need to kill your natural or your main, I just need to stop you from mining anything. An Observer gets picked off, but the Overlord gets taken out. A Spore coming down to try and keep the Observers back. Yeah, I just don't see how Ford can really come back in this game with the current game state. Even if this army gets pushed back. Got more reinforcements coming out. We've got another huge reinforcement wave coming out for Champion. I think the Observer is still alive. It just needs to be moved forward once that Spore Colony... Yep, so the Spore Colony gets taken out. Now the Observer is going to come up so that Lurker can be taken out. Yeah, Ford doesn't have the resources to build another hatchery. So I like the use of the Spore Colonies to try and keep the Observers back. To try and make the Lurkers just that much more potent. It looks like... Okay, Ford did get another hatchery started with the last check minerals they had, but yeah, these drones are going to find that there's already a base over here. The 6 o'clock base is like the only safe-ish spot where Zerg can try to expand, but I don't think realistically it's going to be able to be established in enough time to make a difference in this game. Darkswarm will help a little bit, but the Zealots can attack through Darkswarm, so... And Storm can hurt through Darkswarm, too. The Observer gets picked off, though, and I don't know if Champion has another Observer. It looks like there was just the... Yeah, there was just the one Observer. Well, there's one all the way over here. Which is not noticing that this 6 o'clock base is getting established, but I think once there's an Observer with this army and Champion just kind of charges in, I have a feeling that is going to be the game. Champion go ahead and expanding to the mineral only and the natural here, as right now there's only the 2 mining bases. The Observers are going to see this base down here, though. Maybe? Or the Corsairs, rather. Nope, okay, they're just going to go after the Overlord that's here. Now look at him. That Storm dealing a bit more damage to Protoss than to Zerg, but... Okay, so Plague going off on the Dragoons, that's a nice move, but yeah, I think there's just... Second Plague in that. There's just too much, though, from Protoss, and Protoss has the economy and the bank to just throw multiple armies away here. Ford goes in and gets the GG. Good try there by Ford, but Champion's going to go ahead and take a second win in the group. Very nicely done. Our next game out of Group 13 is going to be a Terran and Zerg going at it. We're going to have 2 players that we've seen as well. 40 going up against ColdTehran. Let's go ahead and get into it. Oops. Helps if I actually get it started. Alright, so we have going on here 40 spawning as the purple Zerg up at the top right of the map. And over at the top left we have ColdTehran spawning as the yellow Terran. We'll go ahead and we'll keep the colors that the players have chosen. I'm just gonna check. They did not play on top versus bottom, so we are forced to do that anyway. Now, I've adjusted the game volumes a little bit, so the game volume should be a little bit louder through the rest of this broadcast. I think this will be at a good level. We'll see. Because yeah, I had the game volumes down a little too low, I think. Kind of hard to hear some of the sound effects, you know, the like the side blades and stuff, like things that should kind of be loud were kind of not loud, so hopefully it's better. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Okay, we've got an Overlord. We could still see Overpool. I'm just like thinking of what possible openings we might see. Something I like when I'm watching a Terran player that I've not seen before in TVZ is, you know, seeing if they are going to go bio or mech. And I know one game is not indicative of that player necessarily playing that style all the time, but it's kind of fun to just see, you know, like what that player is going to do. So the barracks is down. It looks like we do have an overpull from the Zerg. And gas is not started, so I believe this will be a bio opener. Looks like we're doing a cross scout. No, we're scouting over to the right. Okay. Which generally, from what I understand, that's not the way that you should scout. Typically, you would want to scout opposite the direction of your natural, because the Zerg's going to send their Overlord, or they should be sending their Overlord to your natural. In this case, though, it works out, as it does give ColdTehran the first scout here. Drone peeking there, doesn't see. The Overlord, though, I believe saw... Yeah, that should have seen construction of that depot there. The Overlord is a bit potentially exposed, but more than likely one Marine would not be enough to kill it by the time. Yeah, so that SCV gets picked off, and unfortunately I don't think it saw the additional Zerglings get spawned. SCV coming down though, gonna go ahead and throw down that command center at the natural. And you lose that scout, you should throw down a bunker like immediately, because otherwise you are risking Zerg just saying, you know what, he can't, my opponent can't see what I'm doing. I'm just going to throw all my larvae into Zerglings and just attack move now and get speed and just end the game if my opponent doesn't prepare properly. This Marine does take a little bit of damage, but unfortunately for the Zerg player, because it was just the two Zerglings. Oh, that Marine, though, gets caught. So the injured Marine does end up dying. Excuse me, because it went on the other side of the cliff there. A little bit unfortunate for our Terran player. But should be recoverable. I'm not sure what's going on with the depot placements here. We have our gas. We have a lot of minerals banked up. We're getting our engineering bay. So it looks like maybe just some timings are a little bit off here. It's like a bunker is going down now, kind of out in the open. We also had lifted our barracks, which is pretty interesting. So I wonder, like, are we switching to mech? But now we've brought back the barracks and landed and are getting some more Marines. And now we're throwing down another barracks. So I'm not sure why. I mean, I guess it was lifted to clear this area of Overlords. So the Overlord was able to escape to over here. But it's a bit unusual because that's really gonna dampen your Marine count, and was very, very vulnerable to any sort of link flood. Our Terran player will get away with it today, but I could see that sort of thing easily biting them in a different game. This game, though, we are doing A-okay. We are getting our +1. That will be a bit faster. It looks like for our Zerg player, we're going for a Hydralisk Den, which was put down maybe a little bit sooner. than it needed to be, as the lair is not quite finished, so lurker tech cannot be started just yet. The spotting Zergling looks like was taken out. Pretty forward creep colony being placed here. What concerns me with this SimCity is that this creep colony, or the sunken rather, is not necessarily going to be supported by this. And we do have the scans coming out of ColdTehran, sees the tech, sees the Hydralisk den, and saw the front, sees just the two sunkens, but I think the lifting of that Rax early on, the Marine count is a little bit lower than it could be. Guess we're poking up here just to check for a third. Which this would not be a good spot for the Zerg to take as a third, but sometimes Zergs will use that to their advantage. Be like, well, I'm going to expand at the most illogical spot, and then they'll never find me. And sometimes the Terran doesn't find them just because of that. Alright, so Zerglings see the Marines moving out here. I think the Zerg has enough, even with the funky sunken placement. There's quite a number of Zerglings here that can get on top of the Marines and dish out a good bit of damage. The Terran might not be aware of those Zerglings since they were not there. Unfortunately for our Zerg player, though, this Overlord is going to get caught. Lurker aspect almost done. Oh no, that Marine is just like, I'll take the sunken hits. And our Terran player gonna run into the Zerglings here. And yeah, there's just too many Zerglings there for our Terran player to be able to cleanly handle. But our Terran player is on 5 barracks. Plus one had finished, so I wonder if this is... if this was like a an attempt at a +1 timing attack there off of 5 barracks. I'm not exactly familiar. Ooh. The army getting caught a little out of position here. There's nothing in the bunker. A few Marines go down, but not all that much damage done. But now the medics are going to be annoying and not go with the army because they're going to heal the SCVs. That's always a frustrating thing, but lurkers are just about done. We have scans though, so should be okay. We have, it looks like mostly anti-muta. Well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly when these were placed. They could have been placed before the scan, and then when the scan went off, we see the den and we go, okay, we don't actually need those. So Lurker's going to get on the high ground here and just generally be a problem for our Terran player. Let's see, so they've lifted the factory, but now they're landing it, so... It's an interesting choice to go with. So, lifting the racks and then going the 2 starport would make me think, okay, it looks like they're going to go for SK-style Terran, where you forego tanks. Good catch on the lurkers there while 40 was trying to reposition them out front. But when you're going for the tanks and you're still just on 2 base and you're going for double starport, like that's a lot of gas. But we have been banking up gas, so it'll probably be okay for a little bit. But I don't think you can support necessarily like 2-port and a factory, 2-port vessel and constant tank production, but off of 2 base. But maybe we'll be able to pull it off here. It looks like ColdTehran has found that this bottom right natural base exists. Again, we've got an interesting layout with the sunken colonies here where they may not necessarily be able to cover each other, but I think 3 sunkens with a lurker is going to be enough to repel this force regardless. There's just 3 medics there. We need a stim though, but even with the stim, yeah, like... yeah, lurkers are just good units, and the Marines kind of single-filed in there, which was not going to work out too well for our Terran player. Looks like we've got more Hydralisks coming forward, more lurkers coming forward, but tank is out. Tanks outrange lurkers, even without siege mode. So Looks like siege mode is completed. That lurker moving very forward. This is an interesting little move forward with the Hydralisks. And just the 3 lurkers. Yeah, that did not accomplish too much there. Looks like Terran's actually going ahead and taking a third, which is really good. You can see a lot of Terran players kind of like tunnel vision in the whole army production and army control game, and lose sight of the fact that you need to expand, and expand very late. Looks like these lurkers being morphed a little too far forward and getting spotted by the Terran player. These lurkers should probably be cancelled, but it looks like they are going to finish. I mean, they might get something done, but yeah, they kind of stumble on each other, tried to run the one away, but 8 health. There's stim, and it is gone. Zerk is still looking in a pretty good position, though. Has the 3 bases. Didn't quite get the 3rd gas up just yet. What's their tech looking like? They have the Hive and Ultralisks, and the Defiler Mound. Assume is on the way. Terran now also going to set up at the mineral only. But worker count is a little bit low, so no transfer being done to the new base, no new workers being made just yet. But those bases are ready to be saturated when that is able to be done. Looks like we have a couple of irradiates available on these 2 vessels. A couple of drones maybe going to try and start some new bases. One of them at least is going to get spotted on its way out. But we'll make it out before anything with guns gets within range of it. Siege on the high ground, but now consume is done. This Hydralisk on hold position, just going to take that tank shot. Zergling runs out the spot where everything is. Swarm goes down. Hydras get under the swarm. But the thing is, the Hydras can't hurt the Marines, but the Lurkers can, since their attack is splash. But now we have some Irradiates going down, a Swarm going down on top of the tanks. A couple of Zerglings going to try and get in there, but this will force the tanks to pull back. They unsiege, and now they do pull back. Lurker going to be safe under there for right now, but Irradiate going down on the Lurker that's there. Terran army being forced to pull back. And now we have a saturation going on at that 3rd base, the 3rd gas base for the Terran player, but I don't see, yeah, like this base, the saturation is rather low, because that worker count is pretty low. Another swarm going down, gonna keep those lurkers alive for a little bit. I'd like to see the Terran player start to mix in some fire bats now that swarm is on the way, plus could use some additional barracks, but these 2 depots are kind of blocking where you might naturally want to throw down those additional barracks. Tank count is getting a little bit up there. I don't see a Defiler. There was one, but it was irradiated. Actually, that was what it's irradiated. I thought it was a Lurker that got irradiated initially. So our Terran player here looking to press the issue if they can. Run down some defense at the 3rd. I like the 2 bunkers. A nice defense, like against swarm attacks at your expos, can be to have like the 2 bunkers and have at least 1 fire bat in each, as they can hit under swarm, so they'll be able to quickly make work of any Zerglings. We are getting our Nitisk now, but I think that is, okay, no, that might be the connecting end, but the connection is all the way up at the main, so if Defilers are going to be danced between the bases, it's going to be a little tricky to do so. I feel like our Terran player needs to be a bit more aggressive, like moving those forces up a bit more, but you know, obviously, that's way easier said than done in this game. Oh, looks like we have a little drop going on here. But there are 3 Defilers here. Oops, did not mean to speed it up. Wanted to get rid of the unit thing. It's funny, that Swarm was actually protecting that Marine from the sunken colonies. Now, a nice unload up here on the main bottom right. There are no medics, though, but could snipe this hatchery, but it's not target firing. Oh, the lurkers get taken out, though, before they can actually fire off any shots. So the Zerg will be knocked back down to 3 base. More hatcheries being thrown down by 40 here. Yeah, just more irradiates going down here at this natural and main, and now we're actually getting all the way to the drones here. Gonna try and do an eraser. It's gonna devastate that drone line. There's gonna be some Hydralisks, though, that can push this out, but yeah, that's a lot of drones lost, down to 26 now. Yeah, should see the lack of Defiler over here. And I was sort of trying to clear this high ground, so they can go ahead and take it, but their Defilers are devoted to that, while Terran here is now moving up. Ultralisks are coming out, but there is no Swarm. What are the upgrades? Okay, it does have some Carapace upgrades, but Marines, though. So the Carapace is at +2, which is equal to the Terran's attack, and Terran's actually getting +3 attack. Now the Zerg player is not getting +3 Carapace, so these Marines should be able to contest those Ultras without Swarm to protect them. This high ground here is now clear, but now Zerg's got to kind of deal with this. They need to rotate those lurkers over. There's another big wave of Marine medic. If Swarm is not out here soon, I think this natural could get cracked. And the Terran's like looking for those Defilers, trying to hunt them down with these vessels. The Zerg player kind of needs to chase them out and get those Defilers over there. It looks like Defilers maybe... Nope, they're coming from below. So... now all those Defilers are still just hanging out at that base. There is... okay, we have a fresh batch of Defilers, but now they're about to just get all... or not. Oh, okay, one did get irradiated there. And the lurkers, or the Hydralisks rather, are kind of being blurred out. The thing is, there's like this cliff here. Terran could, I mean, there is an Overlord spotting. You could irradiate the Overlord to try and remove it, and then just sort of irradiate from the cliff, where the Hydralisks aren't going to necessarily be able to do much. The Swarm goes down, but there's enough irradiates here. Targeting the drones, which I suppose is okay, given here we have the elusive irradiated Zerg building because the drone was morphed into the building. But we actually have a little bit of a push going on here, but there are Swarms already down. We have some Scourge here finally to try and... but they all go after the same vessel, I think, there, and just only score one vessel with 6 Scourge. And at the moment, we are irradiating the lurkers. Does this have... this does not have the energy right now to cast anything, though. Neither does this one. There are a couple of Zerglings to consume, but they're back a little bit further. Radiate going down on one of the Defilers. Bottom left, the command center is built. I don't see a single SCV there, though. The mineral only not quite mining yet, but... I mean, ColdTehran just has like 9,000 minerals though, so in terms of this game specifically, I don't think it's an issue that those bases are not mining. Another attempt at a drop, but gonna get another couple of irradiates, and I don't see a Defiler again. I feel like, again, the Terran army could just demolish this natural. But that is hard sometimes to tell because You can also throw games that way by moving your army into a space that you feel like you can take, and then you could not take. The main mined out now, though. Right on a couple of armories. That's interesting. Not sure what ColdTehran is looking to do with those. We have +3. Now armor is upgrading. I think ColdTehran only ever got the one engineering bay, so could only really do one upgrade at a time. Yeah, now we're getting some energy in these defilers that are here, so this force might have some problems. Looks like ColdTehran wants to do another drop, but again, there are no medics with the army. You really, when you do these type of drops, you really need to take at least one medic. I like this, though. This is kind of cute, having the fire bats support the tank. So that way, even if it gets swarmed, you'll be able to kill what might attack it. Looks like 40... Yeah, 40 is aware of this drop, but... Now this drop is going to move forward. The tank sieging a little bit too far forward. Leg goes down on the tank. So I think this little poke is going to get stopped. One Marine with 4 medics coming down. Now we're getting another... Okay, no, that is on a defiler. But the defiler's going to try and come forward and see if there's any... Oh! That was a nice irradiate there on that defiler, because those zerglings did just go down. Looks like we're going to get some more hydralisks. But yeah, it's like there's no defiler. Like, this army can attack if it so chooses. Well, now there is one defiler there, but there's so much energy on these vessels, too. Like, that defiler could just be gone. This would be... Yep, a plague. It does land on the tanks. Terran army actually could chill there in that swarm and be safe from that sunken colony and take it out too. Good pick off on the vessels there by 40. That's the number of them in half there. Not sure why that's being morphed into a lair. But here we go. Now the Terran player charging forward a bit, but backing off again. Trying to get into the support of the tanks here. But realistically, like, there's just enough Marines and medics. Like, these could just stim an A move in here and clear this natural, I think. Looks like we've got... Yeah, Terran is just making sure that Zerg hasn't taken any other bases. Loading some buildings out. And yeah, it looks like they're going to go ahead and... they feel like switching over to mech now. They are just getting 1-1 for their mech. Like, look at that Marine, just standing there being healed by the medic, just all those Zerglings not able to do anything. And trying to drop on this high ground, like... They're pulling back to try and maybe deal with those bits of Zerglings, but yeah, not even enough energy for a swarm there. 40 will give the GG, so... Nice game by both of these players. ColdTehran going ahead, taking their first win in the group. Our next game coming up here, we're going to have our first game from Merlin. We've got 40 versus Merlin, which will be a Zerg versus Zerg. So let's go ahead and get into it here. Alright, and we have in the blue Zerg in the bottom left board spawning. That's the blue Zerg. I've already said that. Up at the top left, we have Merlin spawning as the red Zerg. And one of the things I find interesting in Zerg vs. Zerg is how many different potential openings there are that people can use. There's rather aggressive openings you can go with. There are more economically aggressive openings, say 12 hatch or things like that. You can do your 12 hatch in the main, you can do your 12 hatch in your natural, and then there are a lot of different ways to try and defend against those early pool openings and things like that. It's really cool. Let's have the hallucinated Buckaroo here, but yeah, Zerg vs. Zerg is, I think, a rather fascinating strategy in terms of what opening you're going to use, things like that. In a best of one scenario, it can get a little coin flippy compared to a best of three, but we'll see what our players are going to do here. It looks like Ford is going for that 9 pool, and so is Merlin. So both players wait, Ford is at 8 of 9 and now 7 of 9. So yeah, this was an 8, okay, and that's an Overlord morphing. So yeah, this was a 9 pool, but went for the Overlord first. Whereas, Merlin went to replace a drone, I think? Or no, they got their Overlord too. Okay. But their drone did finish just a little bit before. So it looks like we're getting mirror builds, I believe. Although looks like Merlin's... No, they're both finished at about the same time. But Ford is trying to squeak out a couple more drones here, whereas Merlin is going for 6 Zerglings to start. So, despite the mirror-ish builds, Merlin is going to have the Ling advantage. And let's see, Ford is spending the first 100 gas on Lair. What will Merlin spend that 100 gas on? Looks like that gas is not quite getting spent yet by Merlin. Okay, so Merlin's going for Zergling speed, so Merlin's going to go for a more Zergling-heavy style, and unfortunately, I think Merlin actually misses the scout here with the Overlord. Maybe they saw this Overlord and were thinking, oh, that must mean that, they're down here, and that was their initial scouting Overlord or something. I'm not quite sure why this Overlord veered over to the right, but unfortunately it will mean that Merlin misses the scout and actually misses the fact that they have this huge Zergling advantage, and they could potentially even just run up, bust this ramp, and get a win right now. But that opportunity is fading fast. They are going for the evolution, or they do have the evolution chamber, so once they confirm this mute of play, they can go ahead and, although there's no Spire yet, I think because some money was spent onto, whoops, a colony here. But yeah, we'll see. What Merlin is going to do. So Merlin, see the Overlords meet, bump into each other and pass. And neither player has scouted the other yet, so both players are playing pretty blind. Merlin has a lot of Zerglings too. Could have sent a single Zergling off to a couple directions. This Overlord didn't quite make it to the other base here. So I don't think Merlin quite knows. Merlin's going to think that Ford is in this top right, and now the Zerglings are going to head out. Only going to there. Now Zergling is going over to this top right, but it's going to find it empty. I mean, I just imagine Merlin's got to be kicking themselves for redirecting that Overlord. They've got to be very confused. They're like, wait, but I moved my Overlord. Oh, man, they're in the bottom left. Where I was initially going. Mutas. Okay, so it looks like the larva got spent. And we got supply blocked. So we can't quite make our mutas just yet. Getting a lot of Zerglings here. Yeah, now we see that this ramp is blocked by like a row of Zerglings. There's a lot of sunken colonies here. But Zerglings can put out a lot of damage very quickly, but there's going to be no offensive answer to Mutalisks for a bit now. We are getting the spore colonies, so I'm guessing that based on the Zergling count here at the ramp, Merlin is assuming this is going to be a Mutalisk play. This could still go in Merlin's favor, but 4 Zerglings are about to pop. It really comes down to, you know, what damage can these Zerglings do, because there are going to be the 2 spores here protecting the drones, but this is a lot of Zerglings coming in here from Merlin. The ramp is going to break. Like I said, those Zerglings can do a lot of damage very quickly here. Trying to pull the drones, but the Sunken just is not in a good position to really protect the Sunken from the Zerglings. Doesn't look like any drones have fallen though from Ford. See, I don't know if that really did the damage that it needed to do. We've got more drones coming out as well, so Ford might be okay, but we have some more Zerglings rushing in here. Okay, they're gonna actually go ahead and back out. Or now to try until it confirms where the Mutalisks are. The Mutalisks are in Merlin's base. I'm gonna go ahead and chase down and see if there's anything in this natural. Find an Overlord, gonna try and pick that off, and then the Zerglings are gonna rush in here, and there's nothing back home. We've got 6 idle idle larvae. Mutalisks are at the natural of Merlin. Now these Zerglings might be able to do the damage that they need. More drones. No, drones are not what you want to make while your base is being raided by the Zerglings. The drones are falling. These... Oof, this is the kind of damage that Merlin was trying to get with that first attack. Unfortunately for Ford, the these are up there annoying you in. I don't need GG's. A little bit of like Artosis flair there. Nicely done by Merlin, even with the mishap with the scouting there. Nice little quick Zerg versus Zerg. Like I said, best of ones, those can be a little bit coin flippy, but well played. So we have, for our next matchup here, another Merlin game. It's going to be Merlin up against ColdTehran. So we will have another Zerg versus Terran. Let's get it launched. And spawning in the bottom right, in the yellow Terran, we have ColdTehran. And down in the bottom left, in the olive Zerg, we have Merlin. Game not played in top versus bottom, so I cannot switch the colors. We're gonna have to deal with the sort of similar olive and yellow colors. I mean, they are a bit more different than some of the other color combinations that you can end up with in this game. Yeah, we saw ColdTehran's Terran versus Zerg earlier up against Ford. See how Merlin deals with that, how Merlin's Zerg versus Terran is. And if, I mean, ColdTehran could do a different build too, so we'll see if ColdTehran has anything else up their sleeve for this preseason group. We'll see what opening Merlin chooses to use here. Overlord scouting in the right direction and scouting nicely tilted slightly towards the position where you would want to park the Overlord. Not just going straight into the heart of the main of the Terran, which will get the Overlord killed. So sometimes I see that as a Terran player, and I'm like, that is a bait. You are going to run Zerglings as soon as I move my Marine out of position. It looks like we're just going to get a 12 hatch here. And the 12 hatch goes down there in the natural. We have, I believe, a drone scout going out. It's going to go ahead and scout that top left. Unless it's a surprise 3 hatch, 3 base, which... third base, which was something that I think a long time ago used to kind of be like a standard thing. And there we see an SCV going out. It's a little bit late. Coming out at 15. Looks like ColdTehran actually... Oh, okay, no, never mind. It's the depot all the way over here. I thought it was going to go for like a 15 CC or something crazy, because they had the money for the command center, but not quite doing. Looks like this drone is going to continue to scout. Maybe thinking, okay, I saw that SCV, but they might be top right, because that came out a little bit late. ColdTehran, though, gets the first scout, sees the opening, goes ahead and takes the command center quickly, because when the SCV arrived, the spawning pool was not even done. Lair on the way, so this will be 2-hatch play. Confirms the location of ColdTehran with this drones. He's not at top left, not at top right, must be bottom right. You can see the Overlord also sees the command center building there, and ColdTehran cannot quite see that Overlord. So Zerglings coming out here. Looks like the scouting SCV was caught. And we have the immediate building of the bunker. Again, this bunker placement is a little bit far forward for TVZ. As there's plenty of room and space here for the Zerglings to run by if this were a Zergling run by. But they're going to get there actually before the... right before the bunker can finish, but a Marine is going to get in. But like I said, these Zerglings able to get by. And they are going to cause some problems for the Terran player here. So, just, well, a couple of Marines lost, which could potentially be a big deal, but seems okay. Merlin, gonna go ahead and just morph that sunken colony, as since they did the run-by and committed all of their Zerglings to that, they don't have anything watching the front. So for all they know, a push could be coming out. This Overlord... it could potentially see a push if it hugs anywhere near this wall, but there's a possibility to miss it, so whoops, better safe fans, sorry in that regard. I think we're going to see the tech here is a Hydralisk Den, so we're going to get another Lurker opening instead of Muta opening. We are getting that second gas, though, which might make us a little bit mineral starved for the Lurkers here. Lurker aspect is getting started. First count consat is underway. And ColdTehran here will be able to scan the tech of the Zerg. Although seeing the 2-hatch and this engineering bay timing, and there's no turret started, that's a bit risky. If Merlin were going Mutalisk, that could spell trouble, potentially, for our Terran player, but looks like we're going to be okay. We get the scan off, we see the Hydralisk Den, we cancel one of the turrets, there we go, okay. It's not going to be Mutalisks. Although that cancel is even a little bit risky, some Zerg players will throw down a Den and a Spire in 2 different locations, so that way you don't know which tech they're actually going. If you scan the Spire, they could go Lurkers. If you scan the Den, they could go Mutas. So one scan, a little bit risky, but there is a second scan now by ColdTehran. Sees the natural, sees, okay, that was the only tech building there. Sees the Hydralisks even hatch, so we are in pretty safe territory. These Marines, though, I guess they're going out to check for a 3rd base, but dedicating 4 whole Marines to that is going to really weaken your defense at home. So a little bit risky of a play. And yeah, they're going to go ahead, well, splitting so that 1 Marine goes up here, 3 Marines over here. We have the first Lurkers morphing. So they will be approaching soon. Usually with Lurker openings as well, you might want to have your turret a little bit closer to the front here, because there's plenty of room for the Lurkers to burrow where they're not going to be detected by this back turret. And you have very limited scans. So here we have the Zergling Lurker army. Now the question is, okay, so Merlin's going to go ahead and burrow on this high ground here. Could this be hold position Lurkers? There was another scan from ColdTehran. I'm not sure where that was, but they might not be aware of these Lurkers here. Okay, they are not hold position Lurkers, so that 1 Marine sacrifices himself to give ColdTehran the warning. Oh, there's some Lurkers up on this high ground. And we've even got a bit of a flank happening here. These are... Oh, they were trying to go over here and then I think down here, but the Lurkers... Oh, that's devastating shot there. Lurkers dealing 20 damage to Marines. So the 2 Lurkers firing in unison just absolutely devastated that Bioforce. There is a decent Bioforce though sitting here at home. Some of the Lings getting caught up. Yeah, there's the 1 Marine there, but those Lurkers are just going to ignore. Marine is going to get caught there. And here we have like sort of the start of the leapfrogging of the Lurkers. Yeah, ColdTehran is now kind of on a time crunch. Does have the starports. Looks like the science facility not started just yet. Tanks are coming out though, so with scans we'll be able to sort of push that back. And they do have a couple of scans saved up and about to have a 3rd scan, so they do have some room to work with here. But a lot of Marines going down here. Scan goes down. But the Lurkers not being afraid to come out here. Back home at the Zerg base, we're still on just that layer tech. We are getting a 3rd base, but we have a lot of minerals and gas built up. There's 1 Lurker in range of that turret, or sorry, of that bunker. Siege mode about to finish up. That poor Lurker burrowing within range of the Marines in that bunker. The bunker, though, could fall. And the Lings running in here. Oh no, the Marines run down, but there was no detection at that time. And so the Terran army getting devastated. The Lurkers just coming up to get on top of the tank and the barracks here. Yeah, I think this is going to be... I mean, this is recoverable, but this is not a good position for the Terran player. Trying to target down that turret. There's one as Brave SCV trying to take on the Lurkers there, but yeah, I think this is just going to be... ColdTehran goes ahead and calls the GG. So nice little Lurker bust there from Merlin. A quick TVZ there for Merlin's 2nd game in the group. We'll get ready for the next game here, which is going to be with new player. Well, I mean, new as we haven't seen them out of this group yet. Tech AJ or Tech Ajpu. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the name, so I might just go with Tech. Going up against Champion for their first game in the group, so let's go ahead and get this game started. Alright, and we have in the top right, spawning with the red Protoss pieces, we have Champion. And over on the left from Team Nom, well, Team Clan Nom, there's no Nom team in CPL, and teams aren't even formed yet, we have Tech. Spawning is the blue Protoss over on the left, so we've got a Protoss versus Protoss, which can be kind of wild sometimes, especially when invisible caped men get involved. So we'll see what these players decide to go with, and Champion being a former Korean mechanic from CPL Season 8. Pretty excited to see this match. So Champion throwing down their pylon. And then we've got Tech here throwing down theirs as well, a little bit after Champion, which is fine. But it looks like Tech is banking up those resources on 8 supply there. Okay, now we're getting some pro production. So I thought maybe we were gonna see something a bit cheeky. There is a scout going off after the pylon, though. And that early scout is going to get a first scout, so we'll see. Champion could potentially get tipped off from the direction of that probe as to where Tech is, but looks like they will not get that little bit of extra intel and are going to go ahead and scout towards the bottom here. Now Tech gets in, sees what is going on. And now we've got a second gateway, so both players actually deciding to go with 2 gateway, and if Tech had not seen that that was also Champion's choice, gonna go ahead and see it now with the scout coming back in here, sees that the gas is not taken as well, so we're getting pretty much mirror builds from both of these players. Just a little hiccup on the probe production a little bit early. Second pylon started though for Tech. Second pylon not started yet for Champion. Or wait, no it is. Oh, it's up by the gas. Okay. My bad, I missed that. And we have the first zealot out for Champion and for Tech. Both are just keeping them at home. Tech keeping that zealot by the ramp there. Champion's starting to chase the probe of Tech now. Second probe, okay, just going down to throw a pylon down there in the natural, so Champion opening 2 gate, maybe looking to expand a little bit faster. Neither player has taken their gas just yet. And a forge going down for Champion, okay, so we have a little bit of a divergence here. Champion sees the 3 zealots, which matches their own, so they're actually just going to go ahead and return home. Not looking to take that fight. And Tech going ahead and expanding as well. So both players, I think, kind of recognizing, okay, we must have done... Well, Tech sees that, okay, we did similar build. Champion going, okay, well, I think we've done similar builds. I saw the same number of zealots that I've produced off of these gateways. Probably getting the cannon, I would imagine, to try and keep themselves safe from like any sort of Dark Templar play or anything like that, because they did get the last scout out, or last scout off, and Tech really didn't reveal anything until that point, so I can understand getting that forged just for that safety. But because of that safety though, Tech is able to get that Nexus in the natural just a little bit faster. Looks like both players transitioning into their Cybernetics core to get their Dragoons. Actually, Tech went an extra Zealot compared to Champion at this point. And Tech's core is just a little bit faster. And the gas just a little bit faster as well. And it's funny, I introduced Champion as if I had not watched any of his games in the group so far. Like, I just realized, I'm like, wait a second, but I've watched Champion games already. So, yeah, but I mean, you know, former teammate, always fun to see them play. Okay, so we've got a third gateway coming down for Tech. Champion is staying on just the 2 gateways. And Tech is actually starting their Dragoon production a little bit faster. So yeah, instead of opting for their gateway, Champion has opted for another photon cannon. I don't know if I like that. It seems to me as if Champion is just really, really worried about losing to Dark Templar right now. And we've got a probe here. Okay, first Dragoon is out for Champion. Okay, I'm like, that Dragoon's got to build something eventually. It's hopefully. And there's the robotics facility, and this is why I'm kind of like, I don't know if I like that second cannon, just because, you know, you can, at this point, you have your core, you can get the robotics facility, you can tech to observers if you're really that afraid of Dark Templar. I will say, though, Tech saw, okay, that Champion went to gate, has not seen any of the Tech since. Neither player has really poked each other. They're both content to just sit back at home. Tech has 0 detection. So it's funny because it's like Tech is just ripe for getting destroyed by Dark Templar, which is what Champion's afraid of. So Champion's just very well protected from it. There's not a single invisible KP boy in sight for this match. But we have a large army moving out here for Tech. It looks like we've got the 4 Zealots and 8 Dragoons. And Champion's army is only 1 Dragoon, 2 cannons, and these 5 Zealots. There are 3 Dragoons. It looks like watching for a drop. It feels like Champion's kind of trying to play to defend against everything. And I have a feeling that that is going to come back and hurt them here. Tech is positioning on the high ground, getting the Zealots out in front of those Dragoons. And if Champion moves forward, I don't think they're going to be able to see this army here until they're basically right on top of it. Unless they have an observer with the army, then that we'll see. Tech's actually just going to dive here, and I think there's enough to potentially just kill Champion here, or at least deal some significant damage. The Dragoons are going to come down out of the main now. But there's a lot of Dragoons here. The probes are putting on some pressure, but Champion managing to stay ahead of the probe count. Good target firing here from Tech. Champion's Goon's not quite target firing as well. And yeah, it looks like there was just enough from Tech to really break this force and get up into the main, and we have an Artosis pylon here. The 4 gateways powered by the single pylon. Oh no! And now all 4 gateways just unpowered. The Dragoons have almost free range. Free range Dragoons here. One does go down, but yeah, these probes are not going to be enough. That's a ton of damage. Champion going to GG out. So we have ourselves a pretty quick PvP there. I think Champion had an opportunity to go longer if it wasn't for the Artosis pylon, but nicely played there by Tech, getting a win in their first game that we are checking out here in this group. Up next, we have all we have left are Tech's games with everybody, so Tech's going to be in each one of these next games for Group 13. We have PVT here, it's going to be Tech going up against ColdTehran, so let's go ahead and get into it. And this game was played in Melee, so I've got to go ahead and swap. There we go. We've got up at the top right, Tech. Prepping the, instead of Nom, we've got DF here, which I'm not sure what that would be for. I'm not familiar with that tag. Spawning as the purple Protoss up at the top right. And down in the bottom right, we have ColdTehran spawning with the yellow Terran pieces here. One of the things that I find kind of deceptive, need to learn the walls for Terran again, or again for Terran. Wow, my brain read the sentence properly, but mixed up some of the orders. Forgot how to do it, haha. But yeah, I was talking about that earlier in the cast, how like it used to be the main meta for TVP was to wall, but that has really fallen out of favor. So CPL, it's about learning or relearning. Very, very, very true. As the player's doing my casting job for me there, selling CPL. But yeah, so it used to be, again, you know, you would wall here, get Siege Tank, push Protoss out of natural, and take it with a floating CC. Time for them. Unfortunately, I missed half that because I was talking. But that used to be the thing. But now it's more of setting up a Sim City, which this is not quite. Because you would want the barracks more to the left, so that way you have a little hole. This might be too tight where Marines can't get through, or it might not be tight at all for the Zealots. Or it could be right with the racks, or depot on top of the racks. I don't quite remember. We have the scout going out, gas coming up and online for, I almost said for Tech, but that's actually for ColdTehran here. And SCV coming down to the natural here, maybe just to check and make sure that there's no proxy or anything, because that was a little bit early if it was intending to make the command center. This is ColdTehran's first CPL. Looking forward to it. That's awesome to hear it, ColdTehran. Hope you enjoy the cast. If you're watching this, or if you watch it in a VOD later, hope you enjoy it as well. This is my third CPL. I came in first at CPL 7, and I've had a great experience every time I've been in a CPL season, so I hope that you have a great one as well. So, getting the last scout, though, in this game, always unfortunate because you just don't know what Protoss is going for, and by the time you get there, there's going to most likely be something to push you back. Probe tries to get in and see what's going on, but gets picked off. Maybe a little... Oh, no, okay, the factory is starting to see maybe a little bit early for pulling off guys off the gas, because I was looking just at the gas number and not looking at the production up here in the top left, and did not see. So, really quick, though, SCV is going to get in here, get some good intel, sees the core spinning. Going to go ahead and get caught up on those gas workers, but sees some good information there. Sees the one gateway, sees the core spinning. Only saw 2 pylons, though, as these were not built yet, so, you know, there could be some concerns for the Terran player as to, you know, like, is this going to be, you know, like some sort of tech play where you're going to go Reavers, where you're going to go DT. Yeah, so here's the, bunker, but it is going to actually be a 2 factory here. Guys were put back on gas. We have a second factory. Interesting positioning of the factories, but I think this might just be to hide the fact that it's a 2 factory behind, you know, like in case something were to try and come up and push up here. We do have the bunker. The the tricky thing when you're doing something like this too and trying to like sort of be sneaky, right, is that like a bunker here, a Dragoon has the shields to be able to just poke in and see is there a command center here or not, right? So something you can do is you can put this more forward than you normally would. Like normally you would want to put this back because, you know, it limits the arc that Protoss can create to hit the bunker with simultaneous Dragoon shots. But if you push it, but that, like I said, that allows the Dragoon to come in and poke and see if there's an expansion or not. If you put it more forward, that can make it not worth it for the Protoss player to try and dive in and check, because they may have to sacrifice a decent amount of health on the Dragoon, or they may sacrifice the Dragoon altogether. But the problem with that, if you put such a far forward bunker, that's really suspicious because you're allowing a much greater arc, and it's like, why don't you want my unit to be able to poke in there, right? So it's fascinating to me sometimes, the mind games that can kind of happen here and the little bits that you can do to sort of try and avoid giving your opponent information and inadvertently give them information in that as well. So, but we see here, we're getting 2 gate obs here. So we have a observatory is on the way. We've got to move out here with 2 tanks, handful of Marines, and some vultures. Now we've just got pure vulture production. We've got mines on the way. Trying to keep the army here gathered. Go ahead and select it so we can watch that health. We also have another vulture coming in from a different angle. And I think... Oops, just seeing the army now, so... Might want to pull that observer back or get a second one started soon. Siege mode having already been researched. But there are enough goons here. I think this might be able to push back. These Marines really needed to be in between the tanks. This is a fair amount of damage, though. But I think the rallied reinforcements are just going to be the vultures. So Protoss should be able to repel this. Yeah, it's just a question. Terran maybe could have pushed this a little bit more. And typically you don't float the barracks into the Protoss base here to get some scouting off. But yeah, these... Trying to lay down some mines, but... Trying to get an observer out now, but the fact that the observer went straight to the Terran base is going to delay it a little bit and cause this neutral to not be mined for a little bit here. I'd like to see these focus fire the Nexus to maybe try and knock that down. As it is with, like, the aim... Oh, no, the, Ooh. Only one goon ate that mine, though. I like, too, that ColdTehran is expanding behind this. Could bring this tank up, too, though. Because since you have siege mode, like, there's just the 3... Although there are some zealots now, but you've got a healthy amount of vultures, like... The tank could have come up, but I can understand the now it looks like it's coming up, though. So it might be a little later than you would have wanted. But Tech has a great opportunity to sort of stabilize here, pushes the Terran push back out of their natural for now, and has eyes on what is coming out of that Terran main. Engineering Bay is out, and gonna go ahead and float that. Gonna throw down a 3rd factory now, and maybe a 4th factory. Okay, so we're going up to 4 factories. It's pretty aggressive. We're still just on 1 gas, but we do have a little bit of a glut of gas at the moment, so won't really feel that for just a little bit. 2nd gas coming down from Tech. Are we going for, like, 2 base Arbiter here, I wonder? Because we're already getting the Stargate and the Citadel. Although, if we're going for Arbiter, usually you would pair the Citadel, or the Stargate with the Templar Archives. Because you need both the Stargate and the Templar Archives to start the Tribunal. So... Could be carriers, and this could just be for leg speed, so we'll have to keep an eye on what Protoss is going to go for. It looks like Protoss wants to take this mineral only, which I think is a not a bad decision, given that, you know, Terran is on 2 base. You want to get up the base and be on 3 base. I'm concerned though, okay, that gas was not taken yet, and it does go ahead and get taken now. Tehran here trying to find somewhere that they can sort of push this advantage a little bit. Scouting that high ground with the Marine. Tanks on siege. Protoss sees this. Let's have that observer there, so could know to sort of dive on this army with those tanks on siege, and that's exactly what they're going to do as those tanks try to move forward. And now there's just a lot there for Protoss. Back home, we're actually on 3 machine shops, which you can support 3 factory tank production off of 2 bases, but that will suck up like all of your gas income, and you're not going to be able to tech or do anything else if you're doing that, really. I like some mines trying to push this issue a little bit, but I think there's just a little too much here from the Protoss to have been able to do that. A little bit of an overextension. Protoss going to clean up this Terran force. Like how there's just I like how you can tell like this one is grouped with the army and its movements, and then these 2 are just there, stationary, chilling out. So let's see, we've got a shuttle here loading up with some zealots. Zealot bombs are a great way to counter tanks. You just drop them on, or like right next to a tank, and then the tanks will fire on the zealot, and you'll get a some nice splash damage there. So yeah, it is arbiters that are coming out here. We see a scan, it sees the arbiter tech, it sees the starport, but it's not 2 base arbiter really, because tech did go ahead and take a 3rd base, and actually tech gonna go ahead and take a 4th base here in the top left. I'm comfortable enough to do that. Terran, having lost that army, not really in too much of a position to do anything with regards to that. I mean, these vultures maybe could go, but there's a pretty large Terran or Protoss army, and if Terran sends these vultures out, they're not really going to be able to take presence on the map in terms of like securing a 3rd. Something I was thinking about talking about, I don't think I completed the thought. A trap I find sometimes on Polypoid for Terran player, as a Terran player, is this mineral only. Because you'll take it as your 3rd and you'll feel like, oh, well, I've got 3 bases, like, I'm good, but like... Oh, sorry, we actually had a drop here. I'm busy yammering away. I thought that shuttle was going to be used not for like this type of drop, but used to engage with the army. Would be nice to repair this missile turret. Save the spinning guy! Ugh, he's saved. He's like, thank you, that fire is like licking my butt here. Getting toasty buns here. That fire has lasted for quite some time. A very, very tall fire here. Terran's moving out on the map, but okay. Now he's the spinning turret guy no longer has toasty buns. I like the forward mine. It's going to get cleaned up quickly, but I like the thought process here, and the scan's going down to check what Protoss has, trying to use up a little bit of that energy that's built up on the comsats, but without... So we have 2 armories. Without a starport in science facility, those scans are going to be needed to engage with this Protoss army. Neither player getting upgrades, which, if neither player is doing it, then it's not much of a concern, but we can see here that Protoss has started their upgrades, so this could turn very quickly in favor of the Protoss player, just due to the lack of upgrades alone. But the supplies are pretty close. Worker count's pretty close. Tank's relatively close. The Protoss just spent on something somewhere. So... Top left getting up online though, throwing down some anti-vulture cannons. There's still room to play there though if Terran finds it. And okay, so the mine gets spotted by tech, which is going to reveal to ColdTehran where those are, and now those vultures are going to go ahead and check out that top left. But there's nothing defending this barrel only. The command center was flown out there. And ColdTehran is going to find that little pocket that I was talking about, watching the movement of that Protoss army. And actually, the whole Protoss army is pulling back. Okay, I thought maybe that Protoss army was going to pull all the way back to deal with those vultures, but it looks like it was only a little bit pulled back. Oh no, the Terran army, though, moving forward, and there's just no scans coming down. And the scan just, unfortunately for the Terran player, way too late. Lots of zealots here, and there's no vultures, and I think the vultures in the top left got lured into the cannons or somehow got taken care of. This mineral only is going to be forced to lift. The defenses just weren't in position at the proper time. ColdTehran's going to go ahead and give the good game. And that will give Tech a second win in the group. And now to run the gambit of all of the potential Protoss matchups. We've had Protoss versus Protoss, Protoss versus Terran. We've got our Protoss versus Zerg. Tech going up against 4D. Here's the countdown. Alright, and we have in the green trunks, down in the bottom left, we have Tech. Back to repping the Nom clan tag there. And up in the top left, with the purple Zerg pieces, we have Ford. Overlord here going off to take a look at the natural there. So we saw in the first Protoss vs Zerg that we watched today between Champion and Ford. Champion was able to take over a large chunk of the map, amass a large army, and was able to ultimately restrict Ford to just 3 bases max at any point in the game, and go ahead and take the win. And it looks like Tech is going to go for a fast expansion here. That might be a kind of forward pylon for it. Maybe, I guess the pylon's going to be part of the wall with it that forward, but we'll also get a first scout here as the pylon, or the probe rather. Pylons don't move, probes do though. That's going to go ahead and up into this top left position here. The probe does get in there. Sees that it is a pool first opening. And we're going gateway. Okay. See how this plays out versus the pool first. Doesn't look like larvae are being saved up for Zerglings. The probe not looking to, or maybe looking to block this natural. Oh, that probe's just going to be very annoying. The two drones trying to work together. And the natural hatchery will go ahead and get down there. And we have 2 larvae here. Looks like a couple of Zerglings on the way now. Trying to get, yep, okay, all 3 being morphed into Zerglings. We've got our first Zealot on the way. But now this 9 pool, I feel like it should be able to repel the Zealot from this gateway. Trying to catch that probe, and does manage to do so. Taking it out there. Oh, that's a funky way to scroll with the mouse wheel. It seemed to like be lagging my system a little bit when trying to do that. Not going to do that again. The forge is coming down. 2 zealots, though, I think should be able to... Now, this zealot, though, a little bit exposed, will get picked off by the Zerglings. Zealot and probe try to move down to the bottom there. cannon coming down, so I don't think that this gateway will quite fall. The probe gets picked off. But now the Zergling's running in here. This could be a little bit of trouble, but there was a second gateway up in the main, so there's actually 3 Zealots here now. Good job getting some damage there on the ramp. So I don't think these Zerglings are going to do too much, but they will be a little bit annoying here to deal with. So it's actually just going to go ahead and use the probes to clean that up. Those were some somewhat damaged lings, so nothing too bad. And the Zealot count at 3, going to go ahead and move out with those. If they hadn't lost that one Zealot, would have been a little bit more powerful of a move out, but 3 Zealots can still definitely wreak some havoc on Zerg if they are not prepared. Some additional Zerglings being hatched here, which is sort of damage in and of itself, because that means that there are just less drones being made. Going to intercept the Zealots here. The Zealots going to see the number of Zerglings. Don't really have a good position from which they can fight these Zerglings, so going to just try and back up here. Okay, so the one gets away, but now, oh no, that one doesn't get away. And the last one there is going to go ahead and maybe return. Oh no, he does get caught. And so does all 3 of those original Zealots get caught by the Zerglings. Nicely done by Ford there. Probe even coming in. Didn't quite get the kill. So, yeah, the Zerglings, though, now are going to run home. There's 4 Zealots. They're feeling a little bit more confident with engaging the Zerglings here. Got a nice surface area there. I'm going to lose 1 Zealot, but this should force some more Zerglings from the Zerg player here. This Sunken seems a little bit out of the way with no other buildings set up, but there might be some future buildings here to try and make this a little bit of a wall. Zealots are going to try and see if they can get in, but again, we're back to like the 3 Zealots here. Zerglings able to get a decent surround. Will pick 2. Oh, the 1 Zealot's pretty hurt. Probably could have picked that one off, but he's going to fall back to the safety of the Sunken. The Sunken actually might have finished the job there, but Sunken doesn't get a kill count. So 2 reinforcement Zealots come up, though, and will clean up the Zerglings. So Tech just trying to keep the pressure on here. Going to go ahead and back away, though, from that Sunken. That Zealot took some heavy damage from it in the meantime, though. Third base not quite set up just yet. Ford a bit busy dealing with those Zealots. But while Ford's been doing all of this, these 3 drones have just been on the gas here, and so the gas bank for Ford has built up a little bit, trying to chase down these Zealots again. Zealots are just kind of running home to more Zealots, and then, okay, this time instead of moving out with those, just going to wait at home for a little bit more. Cybernetics core on the way, no forge, or no forge while I'm staring at the forge that's at the front, but no +1 weapons on the way just yet. So, okay, and when I said it, it was not upgrading. I completed the sentence, and then it started upgrading. But yeah, so we've got +1 on the way. There's the okay, we're getting our Stargate. We don't have the Citadel just yet, so Zealot leg speed is not going to be around just yet. Looks like Ford is getting ready to get into Hydralisk production here, has a few on the way, and is getting the speed upgrade for Hydralisks. Just a Terran player, something I'm not exactly sure on is like which upgrade or which Hydralisk upgrade should you get first? Should you get speed? Should you get range? I actually don't know. Little run by of the Zerglings there to join the other pack that's on the high ground, and we might see an attempt at a run by here. Zerglings kind of tripping up on themselves, but they're actually going to, instead of going into the main, they're going to target, but that's going to let the cannons get a few additional shots, but will pick off some probes, so not bad for Ford, especially given that the probe count was a bit low for Tech to begin with. And now it's even lower from 20 to 19. Lair is on the way, being made in the natural, which, since that did not have any damage, is interesting to see. A lot of times what you'll see You'll see a natural lair in Hive. If that natural hatchery receives some heavy damage, because it will get a boost in hit points when it completes the upgrade. But in this instance, it just was done there, even with it at full health. Forward pushing the issue, though, these slow zealots trying to run back home away from the Hydralisks. Ford gonna go ahead and just stop here on the high ground transition. The Corsair is out and going straight into the base to get that valuable intel, but we've already seen the Hydralisks. So there's not a whole lot to see here, although doesn't see the lair just yet. Got to come over here across the way, and now we'll see the lair. Another hatchery being thrown down, and the evolution chamber to get the upgrades. So I'm liking this build so far. We're at 4. Gonna be at 4 hatcheries here once that completes for Ford. There are a boatload of zealots here, though. Leg speed getting started along with the +1 armor upgrade. If the Templar Archives is not finished, yeah, Templar Archives has not been built yet, so +2 weapons cannot be made yet. The Corsair flying a little too close to those Hydralisks, so one Corsair gets picked off, but the other one kind of hide over the filled-in cave, the cave that's filled in with the, like, I guess it was a cave-in. How many times can I say cave in a sentence? I don't know. A couple zealots gonna wander out here, bump into the Hydralisks. I think there's actually enough zealots, though, to just clear those Hydralisks. They will take some losses, but yeah, those Hydralisks are kind of being forced back. It's not going to be able to chip away at that Protoss wall just yet. So far, the production has been pure zealots. We've got a Templar Archives on the way, trying to hit some Overlords there, but the Corsair will fall, and now we've got Protoss army giving chase here to the zealots. The Hydralisks trying to do some kiting here, doing a pretty decent job, but the Hydralisks taking some damage. The zealots are taking a lot of damage, though, too. That is taking a lot of micro from Ford here to have to do this kiting. This poor zealot gets left behind. No! And it will fall. And depending on the micro, this fight could go either way, but the zealots are pretty heavily damaged. Oh, and that's a lot of damage being taken on by the Hydralisks, and I think the 3 zealot guys here are going to be able to go back home. Another Corsair out on the map. You definitely want to keep at least some number of Corsair out and try not to have any die, because at any moment, Zerg could just tech switch to Mutalisks, and if you don't have an answer to that, that could be the game for you. But there is a healthy amount of Hydralisks that have been hatched here. So it looks like Ford maybe going to go ahead and move out again. We've got the 12 Hydralisks and now the next pack of Hydralisks. That was maybe a probe. I'm not sure exactly what that was. It wasn't a zealot. Could have been a scouting probe. Or maybe it was a Corsair. Actually, it could have been a Corsair that just happened to get caught. So now we have another engage going on here. But yeah, there's just way too many Hydralisks. Storm not quite finished yet. The first Templar may be out. No, okay, there already is the Templar out, but it doesn't have the energy just yet. I don't think these Hydralisks can breach this, though. There are a fair number of cannons. There's going to be a storm relatively soon. So I think Ford just kind of has to camp outside of the Protoss base here for a little bit and try to bust down this wall. Going to try and get the Forge as well, which has started +2 weapons, but Forge is not long for the world. Gonna go ahead and try and take this. I think this pylon actually might depower a few. No, targeting the... A nice storm goes off for the Protoss player. I think this pylon could have unpowered a couple cannons. And it was already low health from getting hit a fair bit. And now a very forward lurker egg that... Actually, 3 or 4 2 lurker eggs that are probably going to regret where they were ordered to morph. And that one just dies. And then that one cancels. It's like, oh, okay, I'll run away. Goodbye. But we do not have any mobile detection. There isn't even a robotics facility bay. That's a pylon being started, so if Ford can get some lurkers a bit forward facing, the only defense that Tech will have is the cannons and Storm. But these cannons getting replaced is going to cost Tech a fair bit, as those could have been gateways. And Tech may be looking to do a little bit of a sneaky expo here. So expanding to the mineral only, which can make sense, but also expanding to this natural, which is a bit sneaky here. And I don't know if Ford is going to detect that base is going up or not. Hydralisks looking to maybe move forward here. They could deny this mineral only, but it looks like it might get up. Templar, or the Dark Templar was trying to sneak by, but gets caught. Oh! Huge storm for Tech there. Massive damage to those Hydralisks. So many fell to that. Ford, I believe, seized the mineral-only base there. Protoss trying to desperately cling to this pylon, apparently. Maybe thinking about engaging with the cannons or the army. I like the move, though, to the high ground. Hold that spot there. Maybe pick at this mineral-only base, but the Zealots are going to move on top. Trying to get a lurker again, but does pick off the high... One of the High Templars does pick off the second High Templar, but the Zealots here are going to go ahead and push these Hydralisks back. Trying to focus on this egg, though, which actually is costing the Zealots some damage. Having to switch targets here. That lurker does get to finish. So now what's Ford going to do with it? Okay, robotics facility, it looks like is on the way now, so working their way to that observer. Tech, we have a second lurker out on the field. A good contain could potentially be set up here. I like Ford taking this top right base, but with no units really scouring the map, this whole bottom half of the map not really being checked out by Ford. There's tons of paths just free to take to these bases for Tech, and that has allowed this base to go up, but there's no gathering at it just yet. The High Templar got a little bit eager, lost there with a storm in its pocket. Another move forward by Tech. Oh, and that High Templar gets picked off with a storm in its pocket as well. Trying to get some Dragoons, which will be the muscle of the Protoss army. Plus 2 weapons about to finish. Gonna kick in mid-fight here, and it does. Just +1 carapace for Ford here. High Templar getting picked off. They did not have the energy, but Hydralisks will fall back home for Ford. It looks like we have the Spire just finishing up, so maybe gonna look to get like a little cloud of Mutalisks in order to take out and snipe those High Templar. Top right being saturated with drones, probes being made here at this bottom right natural, so that will get saturated over time. Looks like Ford thinking about taking this natural as well. And yeah, we have some Mutalisks on the way. And hatching. So Mutalisk can be great for sniping the High Templar. If you can just get in there and focus fire High Templar, enough Mutalisks can just pretty much one-shot the High Templar and then get out of there with taking minimal damages. Which is one of the reasons we see some Protoss players start to hide their High Templar in shuttles or behind buildings, so that way you either can't click on it or maybe you don't even see it. Overlord coming in here a little bit too far forward, I think. So I can't quite see it at the moment, but if a unit goes over there, they can't see it's quite visible. Now Zerglings here. Gonna catch those probes transferring. This could give away this bottom right base. And it looks like it will indeed give this base away. So it looked like Ford wanted to check bottom mid or 6 o'clock for a base, but sees that there is a base over on the other side. So we'll see what Ford wants to do with the Mutalisks. Looks like they're going to try and hit this mineral only. And okay, yep, there's a shuttle being loaded up with the High Templar. Mutalisks trying to do some damage here to the probes at this base. Trying to find a spot where the cannons won't hit them, but not really able to do so. Those Mutalisks gonna fall. That Overlord just getting a free pass to watch everything, though. It's just kind of funny. Nice storm going down, dealing a lot of damage there. And then in the main, unbeknownst to Ford, we've got one storm, a zealot, 2 storms, and just all of the drones evaporate. Ford giving a good game. I feel like that is a little bit early, but I can understand. You know, it could have been maybe a little bit frustrating to see, okay, my opponent has a base here that I didn't know about for how long. My main just lost all those drones, but realistically though, like, Zerg can replace those drones really quickly. Like, yeah, it will cost you a macro round because you've got to use your larva for it. But, you know, it's not necessarily the end of the world, I don't think. And Zerg had a healthy amount of bases, although Protoss did bust out. I say that was maybe a little bit early, but still good game played by both players. I liked what both were doing. You can really see, you know, they've both kind of got an idea of what they should be doing in the matchup and things like that. It's great to see. For our final game of Group 13, we've got... don't worry though, it's not the final game of the cast. We're still going to cover Group 18. But we've got the final one from Group 13 here. It's going to be Tech going up against Merlin. Another Protoss versus Zerg. Let's go ahead and get it rolling. Tech looking to sweep the group. Alright, so in the purple Protoss, okay, this is top versus bottom. So in the blue Protoss, we have Tech up at the top right. And in the top left, we have, in the red Zerg, Merlin. So we shall see if we see something similar out of this, or, you know, if either of the players want to take a different approach. Pretty excited to see what we're gonna get here. I like the stop larva trick that Merlin is doing here. So that's one where you can select a larva at a hatchery and a unit that can issue the stop command. And if you issue the stop command, the larva will go over to the top left of the hatchery. And so if you've got left side minerals, that can be a way to get your drones to the minerals just a little bit faster. So it looks like we're either going to get a 12 hatch or an overpool. And we'll see if Tech goes for that gateway opening again. Okay, I was like, I swear a pylon has a bigger vision radius than it had there. It just felt like it took an eternity for that to update. And we do see a gateway coming down, and we do see an overpool from Merlin. So I believe what Ford did was a 9 pool. I might be wrong on that. I can't quite remember the timing. It might have been overpool as well. We're getting an overpool this game. So similar early game playing out here. Interesting double scout from Tech. I don't know if that's normal for Protoss and Protoss for Zerg, but I can understand it. Maybe it's more normal if you're going for that gateway opening because you need to try and catch, like, well, am I about to get it with a 4-pull? Whereas maybe if you open Forge first, you know, it's not quite as critical to know that. We have the 6 Zerglings on the way. The drone here trying to get to the natural and actually will go ahead and plant that hatchery down without too much harassment from the probe, though the probe is going to tickle it a little bit now that it is a morphing hatchery. But then we'll go into the main channel. What's going on? We'll see the Lings pop here. Oh, pretty good catch there by Merlin. And I don't know if Merlin knows where Tech is. Because the drone, or the Overlord came down here, so Merlin knows it's not bottom left. Yeah, we can kind of see it looks like the Zergling's kind of splitting up here a little bit, maybe. No, I don't know where these... Okay, so they were just kind of clicked in this general direction, went down there. So Merlin sees what's going on here at the wall. There's a lot of probes that have been pulled because Tech sees, okay, this is, you know, saw the number of Zerglings that hatched, the probe got picked off, and so all scouting intel died at that point. And had to pull those probes down because we have to get this forge down to close up that wall a little bit. A little bit of a misclick here. So it's like, hey, turn around. I come down here. I come down here. You stay up there, buddy. A little bit of infighting happening there. So we're getting a Hydralisk then. And I think we're going to go ahead and take another base. I don't think we're going to take the mineral only. Maybe we are, but the Zealots are coming out here. We've got 4 of them. So last game we saw Tech's little move out with 3 Zealots. But that was because 1 had died, and now we've got 4 here, but they aren't quite grouped together, so the 2 of them taking some damage. Well, one of the 2 there that were roast 4 were taking some damage, but now we can see the Zealots are chasing these Zerglings back. Sunken, or a creep colony on the way, but Merlin can't quite delay this. Going to have to engage with the Zerglings at some point, trying to get a favorable surface area here. More Zerglings being made, which, again, in and of itself is damage to the Zerg player because that means less drones. Merlin is taking the mineral only, and actually, yeah, will get some good surrounds on these Zealots and push this back up. Another Zealot comes up. This full health Zealot came up and was like, oh, brothers, run back. I will come back as a Dragoon later. And allows these two to escape. Merlin switching production over to Hydralisks, but just 9 drones is really, really low. Merlin needs to get some drones created here and rely on, like, instead of starting the Hydralisks, I would have preferred, like, okay, the Zerglings chase this back, kind of see what's going on at the front, see the Zealot count, and then just kind of chill here and work to delay, right, while you just put all of your larvae into drones, so that way you can get your minerals. But I suppose, I'm not sure the exact timing that Corsair could come out, so maybe Corsair around this time could be possible, and so you just need to get a few Hydralisks in order to protect your Overlords just in case. But the Hydralisks are going forward, so they're not even going to be able to do that, so I don't know. Maybe Merlin was afraid of further aggression coming at them and just felt they needed to get these Hydralisks then and now. And we do have Tech looking to come out, talking a little bit about some lag. Able to repel those Zealots. Should be good to do another round of drones, but we'll get a few Hydralisks as well. And maybe that's a good idea because Tech is coming out again aggressively here. Gotta try and push the Zerg off of the high ground here. And we'll just barely clear the Zerg off of this, it looks like. Yeah, just barely pushes them back. which with this being the mineral only here has me a little bit worried because no defenses have been put down there yet. The Zergling running around the Hydralisk here just to try and buy the Hydralisk some time, but now the Hydralisk down to barely any health. These two gonna try and come up and save it. Yeah, like it's really easy for the Protoss to pivot to hitting this mineral only if they come into this this natural low ground area. And so it's like, if there's nothing there, bumped my friend, sorry about that. If there is nothing there to defend, then that might be more appetizing. Protoss pokes in here, sees an army, sees some Sunkens, and then just kind of turn around and hit this. But Merlin looks like they're trying, like they want to get that sort of defense, or not defense, but contain going up here on the high ground, positioning an Overlord to watch this lower route, or maybe going to try and position over the high ground here to watch. Back home, though, we don't have a Stargate, so this Overlord is just chilling out over the Nexus, just kind of watching those probes get their money to the Nexus. Overlord, I don't know if you know this, but you command Zerg units. You do not command the probes. But I'm jesting. But this Overlord being positioned here is good because he's seeing the tech path. He sees the Citadel of Adun timing. Maybe does see that second forge. Sees it spinning along with the first forge. So, that's good intel for him. A Dragoon hasn't been made yet. That Overlord will be sacrificed at some point, but no Dragoons yet. There's no Starport yet, or Stargate yet. So that Overlord is happy to sit in the base of tech and just report back everything that is happening. The Evolution Chamber is up, and we saw Ford get Carapace in this case. Merlin is getting the +1 attack upgrade. And looks like in the Zerg base here, we're just kind of pumping Hydralisks right now. Off of just 3 hatcheries, though. So the money is starting to build up for Merlin, where a macro hatchery or 2 could have been thrown down a little bit ago. And that money, and that could just have been translated into more and more Hydralisks. The Zealots looking to see what they might be able to do here. Looks like there are 12 Zealots on the map now, 13 Zealots. But this group of Zealots are going to move out and engage with the Hydralisks. Merlin not really kiting with them. But there's just enough Hydralisks here to sort of push that back. Let's see, Robotics Facility Bay is on the way along with the Templar Archives. We don't have Lurker aspect though, so this is looking to be, for now at least, a pure Hydralisk army, unless Lurker aspect's already been researched. We're just not getting any, which is possible. Merlin has only taken the 1 gas so far, and is just now getting their lair, and going ahead and throwing down a macro hatchery. But yeah, then actually being just on 3 hatcheries may not be so bad, given the fact that they're just on the 1 gas. And the Zealots now looking to see what they can do. I think just moving out with 11. Okay, now has grouped up the 12th one there. And 2 more, so we've got 14 Zealots. And this might be enough to run up here. There's a few more Hydralisks trickling in, but yeah, trying to do some kiting here by Merlin, but this... noises? Confused noises? I think there might be just enough... there's like just enough Zealots here to push the Zerg army off of that high ground. We'll pick off that weakest Zealot. That might have actually been a target fire. No, it was. That's very nice. But yeah, the Merlin very, very gas starved here. Looks like just now going ahead and getting that gas, recognizing, oh, I've got tons of minerals, but I don't have any gas. Oh, I never took my natural gas. Easy to have that sort of thing happen. But Tech keeping the pressure up, seeing no signs of lurkers yet, so no real fear for the Zealots, and now actually going to go ahead and try and bypass the Hydralisk army here, moving out towards the middle here. Maybe going to try and see if there's any additional bases from Zerg. I don't think the Protoss has actually been able to battle quite to seeing this, but even if they have or have not, they're going to run into it from this other angle that Merlin is just not expecting at the moment. Also a Dark Templar sneaking out here. There is a pretty forward Overlord, so that is good of Merlin to do. Have foresight to move that slower Overlord over there, but now three drones going down at the mineral only. Now I'm going to go ahead and get chased. There is an observer out actually, so that is good to see. So even if Lurker Tech was out, the Zealots would not have too much to feel. So they're going to clean this up. Pretty good cleanup. Just lost like the 3 drones, so that's good. And we'll replace that army back on the high ground here. But all of the Overlords are being pulled back, so that Dark Templar... Ooh! Merlin doing a check here on this mid-right, and does indeed catch that a base was making there. There's the Dark Templar swipes out. I'm like, why? It's like sometimes not there. That was weird. But yeah, Zerg's going to be able to destroy that Nexus, but there's still a fair amount of money for Tech, so could easily replace that. Now, ooh, do these get seen? This might have got seen. I actually missed. I clicked on the wrong player, so I don't know if Merlin saw these or not. I mean, the other thing is, too, just because the unit's in vision doesn't mean the player saw, right? This could be devastating. I mean, forward left when the storms happen on their main drones. I wonder if Tech, if this game was played after that, Tech might be looking for something similar. So Zergling's running up here, getting taken out by that Dark Templar. So more Dark Templar joining in, and there just are not Overlords up here. And it's really going to force the Zerg army back. I kind of would have liked that to happen after this drop, though, because you're kind of like pushing the Zerg army units back. But now there is an Overlord in position, and so the army is going to stay forward. So no harm, no foul. Shuttle gonna just brazenly fly in, start doing those drone kills, and the thing is, Merlin's not gonna get an alert that this is happening because drones die in a single hit, and you don't get that units under attack if something dies in a single hit. But as soon as they hit anything else, which they just swiped the Hydralisk down once, so Merlin is aware of what's happening here now. Like Merlin, gotta try and score some more drone kills. Doing a pretty good job. So that's gonna force some larvae to be spent on those drones. Merlin, though, has a pretty decent bank, so shouldn't be too worried about it, but, you know, it does suck to lose those larvae to have to replace those drones. That was a lot of drones that fell, especially since the entire main got wiped. Merlin just down to 11. And now we've got a big move out here. We've got some High Templar. We've got Storm. Brutal damage across those 2 storms. Tons of Hydralisks just falling. And now Protoss able to confidently stand on that high ground. Actually moving past it. Looks like gonna attack this 3rd from below again. Zerglings again taking out that Nexus. This poor, just that rubbish of a Nexus. Actually, that rubble looks kind of funky now that I'm zoomed in and looking at it. I've never just looked at the rubble for a Nexus. It looks like kind of flat. I don't know. I mean, it's fine for what it is, but it's just like, on closer inspection, it kind of looks a little funky. I think Merlin knew that some of that army had moved down there, so I like that we now have Sunkens and a Spore here. And Tech did not go for Corsairs in this game, so there's nothing to really contest the Overlords. And actually, if Merlin wanted to, could do like a Mutalisk switch. No. Try to hit this again with Zerglings. Oh, this poor Protoss third base. He's just continually being pestered by Merlin. The Zealot's running back home. Angel's getting a little bit overeager there. Will pay the price with their life. And Protoss is going to sit back. The main is getting close to minding out, though, so Protoss really needs to get this third up and running. Natural still has a fair bit to go. Dragoons are starting to be added to the army, though. Upgrade-wise, we were actually at 3-2. And then Zerg, we're at 2-0. The upgrades are so far along, like, the game does not feel like it has been this long, which lets you know that it's a good game, right? Looks like both players wanting to attack from the angle that's going to kind of be like the least obvious from which to attack. I like that. But there's still a Dark Templar here, and there's no Overlord, and I don't know if Overlord speed has been researched just yet. Typically, okay, we have our, looks like our first Corsair on the way now. But normally you would want that Overlord speed the moment that you see Dark Templar are out. This Dark Templar, 27 kill Dark Templar. Whew, that Dark Templar has really put in some work. Really trying to gain Zeratul favor there. Now we have this Protoss army here. Merlin should see that it is there with their Overlords. Pulling the Hydralisks back, trying to get them into the position to defend, trying to make some Hydralisks with every... and/or Zerglings with like every available larva, except for the ones here at the third. Not using those. Those are the baby larvae. Oh! So many drones going down. Man. Heck has just been getting so many money storms in these PvZs. Merlin's going to go ahead and give the GG as this base falls. Just... oh, those storms, man. So many money storms, but nicely played by both. That was a very, very enjoyable game. It did not feel like it was anywhere near as long as it was for those upgrades to get to where they went. So with that game, Tech is going to sweep the group with all wins there. Nicely played by Tech. Good games too. They weren't all full, they weren't like really fully one-sided games, so very lovely to see. That'll conclude our games from Group 13. With that, we're going to go ahead and pivot over to Group 18. Just 3 players got games in out of that group. It's preseason, so you know it could be tricky to schedule. Like while you are just playing best of ones, which is nice, you know the games aren't going to necessarily take up the time that best of 3 would take up. Scheduling or time zone differences, schedules, it can just be hard to get your games. You also have some players who've signed up and then they just either drop out of the league or just inactive for various reasons through the week. So Group 18 a little bit shorter than Group 13. Our first game that we're going to watch is going to be a Terran vs. Zerg. We've got Justice going up against Otto Remmer. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so we have, with the blue Zerg pieces from the IRK clan, we've got Otto Remmer, top right of the map. And in the red trunks, we have, with the Terran pieces, from Clan Ami, it's Justice. So, from what I know, because watched a fair number of games from Justice over the off-season, played with Justice a bit. TVZ Justice, I believe, is a bio player, so we'll probably see bio from them here. For some reason, I was thinking that Otto was Protoss player. I may be misremembering from last season. I think I am. I feel like probably Otto's always been a Zerg player, but that's one of the lovely things with CPL is that you have players that will try different races in different seasons, and with the coaches that you have available to you through the Coach-Pupil League, you know, it's a great place and a great, like, venue to do that sort of thing, to try the different races, get coaching for each of the races, you know, while you're trying them in different seasons, stuff like that. So it's a good place for that. Scout going out for Justice, and if Justice follows the typical Terran scouting pattern, should get a first scout here. It looks like it's going to not do the typical pattern and will unfortunately not get a first scout for that. But it's like we had, I think that's an overpull, since that Overlord is done and this far along. Also getting a drone scout now, and now we're getting the hatchery. Justice sending out the second SCV, which would catch if any Zerglings were coming from this direction. The drone scout passes, which that drone scout could still mean that Zerg is potentially up there, but looks like a little bit of an attempt to block the ramp, but the drone is going to go ahead and get up. But will take some damage, might not get out. The drone trying to do some jukes here, and will manage to get out. A couple of Zerglings though chasing this. Ooh. Chases the SCV around, and unfortunately the SCV kind of gets caught up on that ramp. So bunker going down for Justice. I'm not sure, that bunker may have just been going down anyway based off the scouting info. Yeah, Justice is very worried about those Zerglings. Gonna go ahead and try and block that ramp and use the bunker to defend. The Zergling's gonna come in here though, see if there's anything they can harass. Loses one Zergling, and they can't. There isn't quite a spot where they can bother that command center safely, so going to be forced to retreat. I almost feel like after that, auto would maybe be better to kill this one Zergling, because you lost one Zergling, so you have like an odd number, right? And so one Zergling is eating up one entire supply, and in the early game, that could be a difference, right? So, second scout coming out here for Justice. I like it, trying to pull the Zerglings either all back, which is what's happening here, so auto has no vision at the front, or, you know, or getting up in there and getting some intel, seeing if it's 2 hatch or 3 hatch or 2.5 hatch, sees that it's 2 hatch, sees the lair on the way. You don't exactly have a timing for when that lair started, but you know, to know for certain, is this going to be Mutalisk, is this going to be Hydralisk, or, you know, Lurker, but sees that it's 2 hatcheries, so that's beautiful intel. Could have maybe pulled these SCVs back though a bit early, and or put them on the mineral patches here, because you saw all of the Zerglings go and chase the SCV. You saw, you know, what Zerg had, unless Zerg was hiding something like over here, say. I guess that could be a possibility, but the idle SCVs here, that's 4 SCVs, that's a lot of income when you are pretty pressed for resources in the early build. Here, I'm not exactly sure why auto is checking this base. Typically, Terran's not going to take like a sneak expo like that. But that is the sort of thing that, I mean, it can be good to scout for those sort of things. Another SCV scout heading out. These 4 SCVs are still just here. They're on their union break. They're having their union smoke, I guess. I don't know. Here we have the SCV coming out here. Going to just be able to waltz right in. Doesn't even need to use a scan. Sees the tech, sees that it's Spire, sees a 3rd hatchery coming down. And all of the Zerglings being pulled back. I'd like to see like one... Okay, there we go. So 3 Zerglings being left out front, and 2 Zerglings coming home to try and kill off this SCV here. Justice also sees there's no creep colony, there's no Sunkens or anything here. Now obviously those could be morphed pretty quickly. Actually coming back in here now. Did see the timing of that Spire. The Mutalisks are on the way. Turrets should be done in time, though. So, not too worried about that. A natural turret placement, that might be a little bit of a problem for Justice. We'll see. Bless me. I do not have my mute microphone button ready. So, sorry if I sneeze again, that's just going to be in the stream. Ooh. That was a lot of damage to those Mutalisks. Flew right over the Marines. Good response there by Justice, stimming, making sure to get under those Mutalisks and then just firing away. With that bit of damage, Justice going to go ahead and move out on the map to apply some pressure to the Zerg. Because yeah, with those Mutalisks pretty heavily damaged now, Zerg has to be very, very careful. Yeah, gonna need to throw down some creep colonies, but Justice looks like they might be trying to hunt those Mutalisks down. We have some scans going off here. Checking that front to see what's there. Sees the 3 creep colonies coming down. Still gonna move up though. For the Mutalisks, they're trying to find a spot here. That bunker's actually empty. I think the Mutalisks bugged out because they're not attacking. But up at the front here, we do have the move forward here. I think without any units. Okay, here comes some Mutalisks, but I think there needed to be a combination of Mutalisks and Zerglings to really deal with this. There's the panic creep colonies being thrown down. The Marines are just going to run right by, with leaving a fire bat in that gas line. I like that. Targeting down of the Spire. Forcing the drones to run away. But, okay, I was going to say, leaves that with barely anything. Medic did fall. The Mutalisks all get home, but there's just been a ton of damage dealt. The Spire tech is gone, the drones are hiding, Otto goes ahead and gives the GG, so nicely played there by Justice to break that front and then just sort of run up into the main there and snipe the tech. And so our next matchup is going to be another Justice match. It's going to be another Terran vs. Zerg as well. It's going to be Justice up against Whiskey Dingo. Let's go ahead and get it going. Alright, and in the top right we have Whiskey Dingo spawning as the Red Zerg. And down at the bottom right we have Justice spawning as the Blue Terran. So we have same positions, same matchup, but a different Zerg player. We'll see how it plays out here. It's interesting. I thought there was a trend where Zergs were more going 12 hatch in matchups, but we're seeing a lot. It feels like we're seeing a lot. Maybe things are blurring together, and you know, from casting all the games, I'm having fuzzy memory, but it feels like we're seeing a lot more of like overpool and things like that. A little smiley face from Whiskey Dingo. Actually, I want to check something real quick while the early stages are going on. Looks like it will be a 9 hatch. Interesting. We're getting a 9 hatch from Whiskey Dingo. See how that plays out for them. Yeah, so what I wanted to check Yeah, so Whiskey Dingo was on the Korean Mechanics, like I remembered, last season. But I don't think Justice was, unless Justice left the old Korean Mechanic server. So Extractor is done, spawning pool going up. And again, Justice getting that same scout timing. Sees the hatchery just finish. He's going to go ahead and get up in here and see the eggs, see that the spawning pool is done, and then really as a Terran player, what you want to do is you kind of want to watch what is going to come out of these eggs. Is it going to be drones? Is it going to be all lings? What are we getting here from the Zerg player, right? And then we can see, okay, it is lings. We see 2 sets of lings. We don't see the 3rd set of lings, which was made in the natural. Zergling speed is coming up, and we're getting even more Zerglings. So Whiskey Dingo is really going to want to catch this SCV before more of those Zerglings hatch and give away what's going on, right? Now, seeing these 2 Zerglings isn't necessarily bad, because that's just 6 Zerglings, right? That could be pretty normal. But we are getting the bunker down now, and this might be an attempt at, like, a run-by. And it looks like Justice is a bit concerned about that possibility. Getting some SCVs here, just trying to make sure that they don't die to any funky business here. Speed is finished for the Zerg player. There are a lot of Zerglings out on the field too. There's a group of 12. We've got 6 more coming in, but they're not quite coordinated. Okay, that's 6. Just checking that front. And I think at this point, you shouldn't try the run-by. I'm going to try and get some into the mineral line here, which is a bit of a disruption. And could kind of act as a ploy. We've got even more Zerglings coming in, so this is just going to be a Zergling flood here. But the SCV's on the ramp. Getting some good damage on the bunker. The bunker is going to fall. More Zerglings coming in now, though. But yeah, I think a couple of Zerglings getting in the main, some SCVs falling. And that dealt some damage, but there's just a lot of Marines here now, right? And so how do you transition out of this as a Zerg player? Looks like you don't. You just keep making Zergs. Or Zergs, you keep making Zerglings. That is Whiskey's answer. Aha, okay, you've defended it. You're not going to expect more Zerglings. No one expects the Zergling Inquisition, right? And then others are gonna poke in here and see, but there's just that Marine. That poor Marine. He's like, I was the one Marine to die. No medics just yet. Medics on the way. And Whiskey trying to get these Zerglings a little bit off to the side here. Have to move out from Terran. That's exactly what Whiskey Dingo was waiting for. Gonna run right past the bunker into the main. Gotta target the Academy. Might get it before Stim. Oh, Stim doesn't finish. Whoa. That's... Alright. These guys are going to come in and clean up. The army had to come back in and clean this up, but... Whoa. Stim got sniped. That's got to be frustrating. Granted, the Zerg's army is still just Zerglings, but I feel almost like with that, you could now transition out of these Zerglings. You've got larva, you can get your drones, but no! No! Whiskey, no! Why? Why would you GG? You sniped. Yeah. But Whiskey. But you sniped the stem. If you get Sunkens up, he's not gonna be able to break it. An unstemmed pack, that's not gonna break 4 Sunkens. He's gotta get his academy again. He's gotta start stem again. You can drone up. I'm heartbroken. But it's just... I need a moment of silence for that. All right. I'm a caster. I can do this. We have one more game. We gotta give it our full energy. Even though my heart is just so crushed after that early GG from Whiskey Dingo. I mean, maybe I'm reading the situation wrong. Whiskey Dingo's drone count was super low. I can understand feeling like it's over. But you sniped the academy while it was blinking. You did not hear any stems. Like, oh, I feel like you just sunken up, you hide behind those, you drone up, and you take it from there. I mean, you're probably still behind, but... Up next, though, we have another Whiskey Dingo game. It's going to be a Whiskey Dingo versus Autoremmer, and I was right. Autoremmer does play a different race, but it's not Protoss, it's Terran. So, Autoremmer is either race choosing out of Ted v Ted, or is race choosing out of Zed v Zed. Not sure which way it goes, but we've got ourselves another Terran versus Zerg. Let's go ahead and get it rolling. And in the bottom left corner here, we've flipped the spawn positions both horizontally and vertically. We have Whiskey Dingo as the red Zerg, and in the top left corner, we have Autoremmer in the blue Terran suit. So we'll see if Whiskey Dingo decides to be a Whiskey Dingo and go for a 9 hatcheries speed Zergling all in again, or will they be doing something different here against Auto? Oh, okay. Gonna practice reg build. So you're forward pulling. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, PNC's not forward pulling. But, thank you for answering the question that I just asked in the past. Well, I mean, I asked it now, but you answered it in the past. You foresaw that I would be asking what you're going to be doing as I'm casting this, and so you decided to answer, and I want to thank you for that. I'm throwing my hands up. It's a core Hive Rush, which is a very valid build. To go for like a Lurker Contain into like a 10-minute Defiler, Dark Swarm, Consume Rush, which can be very frustrating to deal with as a Terran. So, okay. I was going to say, from this barracks placement, it looks like probably Otto Remmer is more of a mech Terran player. We can see that here, that they, as I was thinking that and about to say it, they moved the SUV up next to the geyser there. We've got the scout going out. I thought as Terran, you're supposed to scout in the opposite direction of your natural. And these Terrans just keep doing the opposite of what I thought you're supposed to do, so I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't necessarily hurt if you do it either way, but... Because, like, the idea is that the Zerg, if they're up here, they're going to send their Overlord over here as their first scout, and then you can potentially see that Overlord and know, okay, they're over there if you came down here. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a long cast. My brain was blown from the last game, so this is our last one of the night. I don't know what's happening. We've got units, they're moving. I didn't even hide the replay timer thing from myself. Things are happening. Scout trying to get around here, but getting a little bit clogged up by those gas mining drones. Gonna go ahead and pull the SCV out. Did see though that the layer was morphing. Sees that it is 2 hatchery. And we'll go ahead and retreat. We'll turn around though. So not going all the way home. Gonna try and see if I can get anything else, but there's a Zergling waiting to nibble the last 10 life out of it and blow it up. Good job, little Zergling. We have a 3rd hatchery coming down here. So, is that 2.5 hatchery timing? I feel like that's... feels like a weird timing. Maybe that's 2 still gonna be good, because that'll finish when... What will it have larva? I guess is kind of the question, right? Getting some more drones, getting some more Zerglings. We are going with the Spire Tech. Is this gonna be... No vultures. We just got 2 Zergling, or 2 Marines. We're getting an armory. Oh, wait, there was a vulture. It was all the way down here. Looks like it exchanged. A little bit of a fight with those Zerglings. And managed to get away with its life, but just barely. Second factory hasn't started yet. We actually got a second vulture. I guess because this one is so damaged, I can't contest the Zerglings really. So, gonna need to get a second one just to be safe. The Zerglings are gonna look to poke, maybe. A good reaction there. Taking some nibbles, almost running into a corner there. Zergling's going to annoyingly get in. They might score an SCV kill or 2, but the Vulture should be able to clean them up. Now there's Goliath as well. The injured Vulture comes home. Hopefully there is a repair for both of these. And Otto should be okay. No repair on the Vultures, though. So they're just going to go out there damaged. Mulisks are going to come in. Turret's not quite finished. There's just the one Goliath. Gonna need to be really careful. 6 Mutalisks are done, though. Gonna pick off that SCV. Gonna pick off this Goliath, and then just the 3 turrets here, they're not going to stop the Mutas, but going to go ahead and pull out as a few of the Mutalisks are a bit damaged and can kind of harass this bit. Running by with the Zerglings too. One Zergling makes it all the way. Trying to target down or put as much damage on that turret to make it a little bit easier to kill with the Mutalisks potentially, but I'll try and swipe in here, but there is a Goliath mixed in with the SCVs. But the turret falls. Now the south side is a bit exposed. I'm looking for, though, if Whiskey is going to look to take a third, or when Whiskey is maybe going to look to take the third. Ooh, nice timing here for the pivot to the natural, as the turrets are not set up here just yet. As Otto's attention has been pretty much fully pulled into the main. And now we've got the Zerglings running in too, looking to get in on the action. That SCV was like moonwalking there or something for a moment. The one turret does get done, but then quickly gets torn down. Yeah, and Whiskey is just tearing in there. Otto gives the GG, so nicely played by Whiskey there. Maybe sort of redeeming themselves for that early leave in the last game. And so that will be it for today. Groups 13 and 18 from week 1 of the preseason. Thank you everybody for tuning in and hanging out watching the games. It was a lot of fun to cast them all. It's great that season 9 is underway, and as of the time that this is getting cast, week 2 of the preseason just about wrapping up. So next week, look out for a bunch of casts of the week 2 games. And actually, it'll probably be a few weeks of preseason casting. We might even get some more week 1 stuff done, because there's probably going to be... I don't have any insider information on when the regular season and teams are going to be announced and all that, but more than likely after the week 2 games are complete, there'll be like a week or 2 off, because I mean, it's going to be holidays, you know, there's New Year's and all that fun stuff. So we'll probably have a bit of time where we'll be able to just cast some more games out of these 2 weeks, get an early look at all of the players. Week 2's map is Eclipse. So, you know, we're seeing all these week 1 games on Polypoid right now, but week 2 coming up, we'll be pivoting over to the 2-player map Eclipse. So a little bit of a change of venue. You can catch, there's been a lot of streams this week over on the official Coach-Pupil League Twitch channel, which is, let me double check the URL so I don't misspeak. It is twitch.tv/Coach-Pupil League, spelled out CoachPupil League. So there's been quite a few casts over there. Those are VODs now, and also on the YouTube, Dada has been great. He is a player and staff member. He's been uploading all of these VODs to the YouTube channel as well for the Coach-Pupil League, and you can find that over at youtube.com/@Coach-Pupil League, spelled the same way as the Twitch channel. And so there are already a number of preseason week 1 casts. If you have not seen them yet, I recommend going over there. It's a lot of fun. And those ones, the ones that are up there, I think are mostly multicasted and not like solo casted. So get a number of different personalities in there. It's always a fun time. But with that, I'm going to give my voice rest. I will catch you all next time. Until then, take care, everybody.